Chapter 2859. The Ning Family? Tua. Does your phoenix kind also have a clansman who is going out to train? One of the white tigers asked. Yes, he also left a letter before he left. One of the phoenixes said honestly. After listening for such a long time, he finally realized that something was amiss. After all this fuss, Lung Ruoxua had returned because she suspected that her clansman's training was abnormal? If that was the case, why didn't he say it clearly at the beginning? Why did he have to capture all of them and take them away? Sob. The phoenixes were so sad. It looks like our two races are thinking the same thing. The white tiger said dumbly. Want to be together, your sister. The phoenix who replied was not as stupid as the white tiger. Immediately he turned to look at Lung Ruoxua and said, something must have happened to the phoenix kind. At least you're not too stupid. Lung Ruoxua looked at the phoenix with admiration. She then turned to look at the silly white tiger with a headache and said, did you hear that? She's more clear-headed than you idiot. Lung Ruoxia's tone was filled with resentment. If there was such a stupid subordinate among her subordinates, she would definitely be angered to death. Fortunately, this white tiger wasn't hers yet. But in the future, thinking about the future, Lung Ruoxia's gaze towards a certain white tiger became sharp again. As for the white tiger that was being glared at, it looked at Lung Ruoxua with an aggrieved expression, as if it was a little wife that had been bullied. Lung Ruoxua could only sigh. After taking a few deep breaths, she suppressed her anger and said, now that your clansmen are all in trouble, leaving only a few of you behind, what do you think? Tell me. We don't know. Woo. The few white tigers were on the verge of a mental breakdown after hearing this bad news. They were at a loss for what to do and looked at Lung Ruoxua with teary eyes. Their clear blue eyes were red as though they were saying, please protect me. Miss Lung, you can make the decision, the Phoenix clan replied. Well, listen to you. AI. He definitely had to listen. A beast under the eaves had no choice but to lower its head. I can't be bothered with your business. The moment the phoenix finished speaking, Lung Ruoxia's face was filled with disdain. Not care? No matter why they were captured? He thought that since the other party had captured them, he would naturally help them. But now, sob. How could these people not care? How could he leave her in the lurch? It had to be said that at this moment, whether it was the phoenix or the white tiger, both of them felt fear towards the disappearance of their clansmen. In fact, at this moment, they could not help but place their hopes on their original enemy, Lung Ruoxua. However, now that she had said that she would not care, their burning anticipation was instantly crushed into an ice cave. Don't ignore it, dear. If you don't do anything, they might be captured by the bad guys. Woo-woo. Whoever dared to capture Phoenix and White Tiger must have extraordinary strength. Thinking of this, they couldn't help turning their eyes to Master Ning. They guessed that the person who dared to capture the Phoenix and the White Tiger was probably from the 8 great divine regions. It had to be said that the two sides were thinking the same thing. The reason why they did not suspect Lung Ruoxua was because they felt that with Lung Ruoxia's abilities, she would not have to go through so much trouble to capture a White Tiger or Phoenix. Thanks, he secretly caught someone and left a message. How much effort did he have to put into this? Lung Ruoxua would definitely not bother to do such a sneaky thing. More importantly, even if the other party had done it, they would not have forged a message. It was really unnecessary. Without any suspicion, the White Tiger and Phoenix who were present ruled out Lung Ruoxua as a suspect. This was something that Lung Ruoxua had never thought of. She even felt that it would be normal for the other party to suspect her. After all, they did not get along well. Master Ning, who had been targeted by them, was a little angry. Why are you all looking at me? I didn't do that. Master Ning roared in anger. We didn't say that you did it. We just feel that, in the entire firmament, only the people from the 8 great divine domains, aside from Demon City, are capable of snatching away the Phoenix and the White Tiger without anyone knowing. A certain Phoenix explained in fear. Master Ning was speechless. It seemed like that was the case. Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that they had the same idea. After clearing her throat, Lung Ruoxua spoke again. I can guarantee that this matter has nothing to do with Godfather. As for who you suspect, just go and find the person involved. I hope that I'll have the opportunity to see all of you alive in the divine realm in the future." With that, Lung Ruoxue stood up and prepared to leave. As soon as she stood up, Uncle Long and the others naturally followed suit. The phoenixes and white tigers were dumbfounded. Wu, he really didn't care? No. They definitely could not allow Lung Ruoxue and the others to leave just like that. If they left, there would be even fewer people who could help them. Actions speak louder than words. In the next second, a few white tigers and phoenixes pounced towards Lung Ruoxue in unison. They knelt on the ground and hugged Lung Ruoxue and the rest's legs tightly as they cried. "Wu, you can't just leave like this. If you guys leave, what are we going to do? What do you have to do with us? Don't forget, we are also enemies." Lung Ruoxue's face darkened before she spoke in a tone that left no room for discussion. "Yup. We don't have the obligation to help you, and you're not even related to us." Uncle Long agreed. He couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Shue'er's tactic of playing hard to get was good. In this case, wouldn't these phoenixes and white tigers be easy to capture? Then well, become your beasts. Is that okay? One of the phoenixes asked carefully. Don't say that he didn't have a backbone. When things came to a head, he might even lose his life. Could a backbone be eaten? Staying alive was the most important thing. Hearing that a certain phoenix had the intention to defect, Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly and said, "I'm sorry, but the thing I don't need the most right now is a beast. However, I do lack some servants. Are you willing to do that?" "I'm willing. I'm willing." The phoenix who spoke did not dare to make a decision on behalf of the others. However, to him, it did not matter whether he was a beastie or a servant, as long as he could keep his little life. He did not wish to be like his clan members and disappear without a trace. More importantly, everyone in the immortal realm knew that Lung Ruoxue treated beasts well. Hence, being her servant was better than letting others take advantage of her, right? It had to be said that this phoenix had thought it through quite thoroughly, and was very tactful. It was also very sincere, and did not reveal the slightest bit of reluctance. Seeing his expression, Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. "Since you've decided, I'll give you a chance." "Thank you, Master, for taking me in," a certain phoenix said in a fawning manner when she saw that her wish had been fulfilled. "Master, I'm willing to. Master, please take me in." When the other phoenixes and white tigers saw this, they didn't care about their face anymore, and fought to be the first to speak. Chapter 2860. The Ning Family? 3. Seeing this grand scene, Master Ning and the others couldn't help but twitch their lips. This was too. That. Don't you have any shame? However, Lung Ruoxue was satisfied that they had walked right into her trap. This was the result of playing hard to get. Hence, she did not reject them. After explaining to the other party that she wanted to use the beast taming technique, Lung Ruoxue then signed the equality contract with them. The white tigers and phoenixes were extremely touched. He had thought that his master would sign a master-servant contract with him, but he didn't expect it to be an equal contract. Sop. Where else could he find such a kind master? At this moment, the beasties' hearts were completely subdued by Lung Ruoxue. Initially, Lung Ruoxue was hesitating whether she should sign a master-servant contract before the contract was formed. After all, to ordinary beast tamers, it was necessary to sign a master-servant contract for tamed beasts. Only then would the loyalty of the beasts be high. However, she did not have such concerns at all. More importantly, she had always been tolerant of her beasts. There were very few beasts in her family who had signed a master-servant contract, and the few beasts in front of her had never offended her. Therefore, she really could not bear to use the master-servant contract to control their freedom. After much consideration, Lung Ruoxue finally decided to sign an equality contract. However, she did not expect that a contract of equals would be able to completely subdue the hearts of these beasts. This could be considered an unexpected surprise. After becoming Lung Ruoxue, the white tigers and the phoenix felt much more at ease. Then, out of curiosity, one of the white tigers could not help but ask, "Master, have you been to the dragon clan? What's the situation there?" "I've been there. Their entire clan doesn't have any dragons," Lung Ruoxue said calmly. "Ah, These words instantly scared the phoenixes and white tigers so much that their faces turned pale. At the same time, they were secretly rejoicing in their hearts. It was a good thing that they had acknowledged Lung Ruoxue as their master. Otherwise, they might be the next ones to be captured. Master, what should we do now? A phoenix asked after a long time. Investigate the suspicious people and find us a secret place. We will be staying there temporarily. As for you, you will be live targets for now. If the other party wants to make a move, you'll be the first choice. Lung Ruoxue made the arrangements. Although they knew that their master's arrangement was very reasonable, as long as they thought that they would be living targets for the enemy, the white tigers and phoenixes could not be happy. However, this was something that couldn't be helped. The other party was going to make a move against the phoenix and white tiger race. It was clearly unrealistic to make them the target. In order to ensure their safety, Lung Ruoxue had even specially instructed Old Venomous Snake to place a few of his sons and grandsons by their side for protection. This way, their safety would naturally be greatly increased. After that, Lung Ruoxue and the rest settled down in a mountain stream within the white tiger race. During this period of time, Lung Ruoxue had heard from Uncle Long and the others that there was new blood in Demon City. However, these new blood were either in closed-door cultivation or out for training. Hence, in the huge Demon City, they were the only idle people. But fortunately, with the Golden Bee clan, Old Venomous Snake, and his children and descendants around, they finally had some people to run errands for them. Other than the venomous snakes that followed the white tiger and phoenix, the rest of the snake's offsprings were sent out by the Old Venomous Snake. The Golden Bee clan also scattered to cooperate with the venomous snakes to investigate the situation and monitor suspicious people in the 8 great divine regions. Time passed. Soon 2 months had passed. There was no trace of the enemy, but Bao Bao, who had been sleeping for a long time, finally woke up. The moment Baby Su opened his eyes, he saw Lung Ruoxue and immediately threw himself into her arms. He said passionately, "Sister, I missed you so much." "Sister also misses the baby." Lung Ruoxue said dotingly, "Sister, baby doesn't want to be away from you for so long." The baby said in a spoiled manner, "Silly girl, baby has never left big sister. Baby's temporary departure is all for cultivation." Lung Ruoxue reminded, "Yes, I don't need to cultivate anymore. Sister, how's my new image? Is she pretty?" In order to let Lung Ruoxue see his current appearance, Baby jumped out of Lung Ruoxue's arms reluctantly and posed a few times for his beloved sister to see. Initially, it had wanted to show off, but who knew that it would accidentally trip over its long furry tail. With a loud plop, it fell on its back. This made Lung Ruoxue laugh out loud. Seeing that she had pleased her sister, Baby Su was happy in her heart. However, she couldn't help but put on an aggrieved expression. Her eyes were filled with tears as she looked pitifully at Lung Ruoxue, who was smiling so widely that she had lost her image. "Sister," the baby sobbed. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she immediately pulled the baby into her arms to comfort him. However, she could not hide the smile on her face. "Big sister, you're smiling so happily." Bao Bao could only laugh at herself. "Bao Bao has done a great job." "Yes." Lung Ruoxue smiled and nodded. Thanks. Just as Lung Ruoxue was about to praise Baby Su, a small golden bee flew over and stopped beside the two of them. When the golden bee saw that its baby was awake, it hurriedly saluted. "Greetings, greetings, Lord Beast Deity." "Yes, what's the matter?" The baby's previous tsundere attitude was replaced by a stern expression. "Your Excellency, Miss Lung, the king asked me to inform you that there are enemies." The little golden bee replied in a trembling voice. "What enemy information?" The baby, who had just woken up, had a confused expression on his fluffy and cute little face. "Have you found the person who captured the 3 beasts?" Lung Ruoxue asked. "Not yet. I caught a man in black. That person was sneakily loitering around the white tiger race's territory, and we discovered him," the golden bee reported. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. This couldn't be considered as an enemy's relationship, right? What if they were just passing by? However, she would rather catch the wrong person than let him go. So after hearing the golden bee's report, She carried the baby to the living room because the person was being interrogated by Uncle Long and the others. On the way, Lung Ruoxue also explained to baby Sue. After finding out that the dragon race, phoenix race, and white tiger race had all gone missing, Bao Bao was completely enraged. You bastard! It had not dealt with those guys yet. How could they let others capture them? Wasn't this clearly snatching people from the hands of the beast god? Such an evil act must not be tolerated. The baby, who was being carried by Lung Ruoxue, followed her into the living room in a valiant and spirited manner. Seeing that the baby had woken up, everyone was very happy, because this meant that their strength had increased a lot. However, the few people sitting here still used up most of their mental strength on the baby, just to add a few words of criticism to the fog ripple, while the baby felt warm and accepted everyone's criticism with an open mind. After that, everyone turned their attention to the man in black, who was kneeling on the ground. Seeing that the other party was dressed in black in broad daylight, Lung Ruoxue was speechless. This person didn't look like someone who was good at this, but that didn't mean that he wasn't suspicious at all. Moreover, no matter how she looked at him, she felt that the person in front of her looked familiar, but she could not remember where she had seen him before. More importantly, when the person in front of her saw her, his eyes were obviously avoiding her, as if he did not expect to see her here. You recognize me? Lung Ruoxue squinted her eyes as she sat down. Young Lady Lung is very famous in the divine realm. I'm afraid there aren't many people who don't recognize her, right? The man in black replied carefully after he calmed down. You think I'm asking you that? Lung Ruoxue glanced at the black-robed man. Forgive me for being slow-witted, but I don't understand what Miss Lung is saying. The man in black pretended to be stupid. You don't understand? You're a member of the Ning family? Lung Ruoxue suddenly asked. Even though there was a hint of doubt in her words, her expression was very certain. No, I'm not. The black-robed man denied frantically. When Uncle Long and the others heard Shuer say that the other party was from the Ning family, they were all shocked, especially Master Ning, whose eyes were about to pop out. Then Master Ning rushed to the man in black, grabbed him by the collar, and asked, You're from the Ning family? What's your name? Which room is she from? I am not a member of the Ning family. The man in black was so frightened by Master Ning's sudden action that his face turned as pale as a sheet. However, he still denied Lung Ruoxue's words. Seeing that the other party refused to admit it, Master Ning turned to Lung Ruoxue and said, Shuer, I don't think he's from the Ning family. The Ning family wouldn't act like this when they see me. Godfather Qingju has read his heart. With a faint smile, Lung Ruo told him the truth. This time, Master Ning didn't say anything, and turned his head to glare at the man in black in front of him. However, the black-robed man clearly did not understand the meaning behind Lung Ruoxue's words. He stubbornly stuck his neck out and continued to argue. I'm not a member of the Ning family. Miss Lung, please don't give me an identity. What? Do you think that your identity as a member of the Ning family has embarrassed you? Or do you think you're not qualified to be called a member of the Ning family? Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue continued to ask with a smile. None of them. I'm not a member of the Ning family anyway. The man in black roared at the top of his lungs as Lung Ruoxue pressed on. At this moment, he had already thrown all his fear to the back of his mind. The only thing he wanted to do was to deny it. He didn't believe that as long as he refused to admit it, the other party would still be able to pin the Ning family's identity on him. Lung Ruoxue was not bothered by his stubbornness. She smiled and said, What, you think you've embarrassed the Ning family? If you knew this would happen, why did you do that? 1. Chapter 2861. Are you threatening me? 1. Miss Lung, don't talk nonsense. I'm not a member of the Ning family. How could I embarrass the Ning family? Lung Ruoxue had already put it that way, but the man in black still refused to admit it. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly and walked to the side of the man in black. It seems that you really don't like your identity as a member of the Ning family, otherwise you wouldn't have refused to admit it. Forget it. Since you don't want to acknowledge it, I can't force you to acknowledge it, so as not to really lose Godfather's face. You. Lung Ruoxue's words angered the man in black so much that his entire body trembled. He was unable to form a complete sentence even after a long time. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue couldn't be bothered with him anymore. She turned her gaze to her godfather and said, "Godfather, they are the third elder's men." Master Ning immediately understood. Then he looked deeply at Lung Ruoxue and sighed in his heart. He knew that the Ning family's matters could not be hidden from this girl. But this was good too, at least Schwerer understood him. Then, Master Ning's sharp eyes turned to the man in black and he asked indifferently, "Did third brother ask someone to do this? What is it? I don't understand." Seeing that he couldn't hide it anymore, the black-clothed man didn't quibble that he wasn't a member of the Ning family, but he still didn't know. "Godfather, there's no need to ask him. He's just a small fry and doesn't know much." Seeing that the black-robed man was still trying to hide the truth, Lung Ruoxue did not want to give him any more chances. "All right, I'll go find third brother." Hearing this, Master Ning stood up and walked out angrily. Uncle Long and the others looked at each other. Then they got up and followed him. Seeing that everyone had left, the black-shirt man thought that he was free. Just as he was about to cheer, he suddenly realized that there were a few more golden little bees around him. What are you guys doing?" The man in black shivered. The gazes of these little golden bees were much fiercer than before. What were they trying to do? "What do you want?" "Kid, without the order of our boss sister, you can forget about escaping. You're under our watch now, so don't ever doubt our intelligence. Brothers, go. Take him down." A golden bee grinned evilly and said to its brother. When the other golden bees heard this, they immediately buzzed with joy. Then they quickly enlarged their bodies and charged toward the man in black. After a few bees hit each other, the man in black fainted. Then the bees grabbed the man's legs and dragged him out. At the same time, the aggressive Master Ning also rushed to the area of influence assigned to the third elder. Lung Ruoxue and the rest followed him all the way, but they could not keep up with their godfather's footsteps. They were completely shaken off by the exasperated Master Ning. Of course, Master Ning didn't mean to shake them off, but no one expected him to walk so fast. When they didn't pay attention, he had already disappeared. And they didn't know where the third elder's territory was, so they could only go to the Ning family to find the second elder first. The second elder of the Ning family knew why they were here. He immediately brought Lung Ruoxue and the rest to the territory of the third elder. The second elder was about to leave when he arrived at the third elder's territory, but when the guard saw him, he said, "Second elder, long time no see. Third elder is waiting for you." When the second elder heard this, his face was full of doubt. Third brother was waiting for him? Was this a joke? Thanks, ever since third brother had been chased out of the family by the old ancestor, he had not been in contact with them at all. How could he wait for him? However, the second elder of the Imperial Guard recognized the person who had spoken. Hence, he did not doubt the other party's words and stayed behind with Lung Ruoxue. After that, they were respectfully invited into the city. The guard brought Lung Ruoxue and the rest to a tall, grand courtyard that was exactly the same as the Ning family's main residence. He then turned and left. Looking at the tall and magnificent courtyard, Lung Ruoxue turned to second elder and teased, "Second elder, it also says the Ning family's main residence. Which one is the real one?" "Of course it's real." The second elder of the Ning family frowned. "Are you sure? Do you know what kind of feeling this place gives me?" Lung Ruoxue asked indifferently. "Of course I'm sure. We're the master of the Ning family, so please don't think too much, Miss Lung." The second elder of the Ning family said. But in fact, he was also a little uneasy. He didn't know what his third brother was up to. He had already been expelled from the Ning family, so how could he still use the name of the Ning family's main residence? Wasn't he trying to make them look bad? More importantly, how was this the Ning family's main residence? The second elder was a little unhappy, but he didn't show it. After that, they were all invited into the living room by the servants. Sitting in the living room, Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face maintained a faint smile, while second elder's uneasiness grew heavier and heavier. Because along the way, he had discovered that every blade of grass, every tree, and all the decorations were basically no different from the real Ning family's main residence. What was she trying to do? Suppressing his anger, the third elder finally arrived. Before the second elder could flare up, The third elder laughed and said, "Second brother, long time no see. Don't call me second brother, am not worthy of that title." Hearing this, the second elder said in a bad mood, "All right then. Second elder, how have you been?" The third elder tactfully changed his words. Then, without waiting for the second elder's reply, he turned his gaze to Lung Ruoxue. Looking at Lung Ruoxue, his heart was filled with hatred. If it wasn't for this woman, he wouldn't have ended up like this. "Third elder, how have you been?" Lung Ruoxue saw that the other party was glaring at her with hatred but did not say a word, so she could only take the initiative to speak. "Thanks to Miss Lung, my life is still going on." The third elder said indifferently, and then asked, "May I know why Miss Lung has come here? Where's Godfather?" Lung Ruoxue didn't answer directly and continued to ask, "If the Godfather that Miss Lung is talking about is Master Ning, I don't see him." The third elder said in a light tone, "You didn't see it?" Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes as she muttered to herself, "This is impossible. The old ancestor clearly came to your place." At this time, the second elder also had a look of disbelief. "Second elder, did you see Master Ning come to my place with your own eyes?" Hearing this, third elder also asked, "Ugh." The second elder was at a loss for words. Of course, he did not see it with his own eyes. He had heard it from Lung Ruoxue. Furthermore, there was no need for Lung Ruoxue to lie to him about such matters. Second elder turned to look at Lung Ruoxue with suspicion. Then he heard Lung Ruoxue say, "Third elder, if you're sensible, hand over your godfather. He's your biological father after all. How could you harm him?" "What?" Lung Ruoxue's shocking words scared the second elder so much that he jumped up in shock. He looked at Lung Ruoxue in disbelief before turning to look at the third elder. With a face full of disappointment, he shouted, "Third brother, you harmed our ancestor? You animal! I'm going to kill you to avenge our ancestor." Chapter 2862. Are you threatening me? 2. After the second elder finished shouting, he immediately pounced towards the third elder. When the third elder saw this, he did not panic and said, "Second elder, can't you grow some brains? Don't be incited by this woman. What reason do I have to harm Master Ning? To think that we've been brothers for so many years. Yet you easily believed an outsider's words, and even began to doubt me." When the third elder said this, his face was full of disappointment. When the second elder heard him say this, he was at a loss and didn't know who to believe. Not long after, the second elder took a few deep breaths and said, "Miss Lung would not lie to me because of such a matter. Do you think I would lie to you about something like this?" The third elder asked angrily, "We'll talk about lying later. Hand over your godfather first." Lung Ruoxue didn't want to see third elder continue to play the family card, so she went straight to the point. When the second elder heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he immediately reacted, "That's right. Quickly hand over the ancestor. Otherwise, I won't let you off. I told you Master Ning didn't come. Why didn't you believe me?" The third elder said helplessly, "It doesn't seem like you have the final say. Since you claim that Godfather isn't here, do you dare to let us search?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. "Sure, but what if you don't find anything?" The third elder asked, "If you didn't find it, doesn't that prove your innocence? What else do you want to do?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. "You." The third elder was angered by his words. After taking a few deep breaths, he suddenly roared, "If you can't find it, then you can all stay here. Are you staying for dinner? There's no need to be so polite." Lung Ruoxue played dumb. "You must be dreaming. I'll leave you behind to be dealt with properly." The third elder roared, "So you want to punish us? Oh. All right, let's see if you have the ability then." When Lung Ruoxue heard this, she was neither angry nor annoyed. Instead, she agreed. "I'm looking forward to it," Uncle Long interrupted. "Humph." Seeing the two of them echoing each other, the third elder was furious. He thought to himself, "You'll see what happens later." After that, he suppressed his anger and gestured for Lung Ruoxue and the others to do as they pleased. Before the official search, Lung Ruoxue had secretly given them a few pills. Even though everyone was puzzled, they still took them when they were not prepared. After that, everyone dispersed and split up. Lung Ruoxue carried the baby and headed south. Third elder could not help but sneer as he watched Lung Ruoxue leave. Then he sat back in his original position and leisurely drank his tea. Big sister, there are so many strangers auras here. Along the way, Bao Bao whispered to Lung Ruoxue through telepathy. Yes, let's find Godfather first. Don't worry about the rest. Lung Ruoxue replied and quickened her pace. They arrived at a small courtyard that had been abandoned for a long time. Lung Ruoxue pushed open the door and walked in. Thanks. After entering, Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and searched carefully. From the outside, this small courtyard seemed to have been abandoned for a long time. However, the courtyard was unusually clean. There wasn't even a single weed. The courtyard was filled with bright red flowers, competing for beauty. Although the flowers were beautiful, they gave her a rather out-of-place feeling. Lung Ruoxue walked over to the flowers and observed them carefully. She stretched out her snow-white hand, wanting to pick one and look at it as much as she wanted to. However, the moment her hand reached out, the flowers moved. She saw many tentacles extending out of the center of the flower, rushing toward her. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue hurriedly retracted her hand. When the flowers saw that the delectable taste was gone, they seemed to be quite dissatisfied and started to shake violently. They even let out baby-like cries. What the hell was this flower? Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue really wanted to burn all these strange flowers. However, before she could do that, she heard light footsteps behind her. Lung Ruoxue turned around vigilantly and saw Third Elder leading a group of menacing men in black and had her surrounded. Third Elder, what are you trying to do? Blinking her eyes, Lung Ruoxue revealed a calm smile and pretended to be confused. I want to use you as fertilizer for my flowers. The Third Elder smiled evilly and spoke the truth. So that's how it is. However, my flower fertilizer is poisonous. Are you sure you want to do this? Lung Ruoxue remained calm as she asked. Poisonous? Can you poison the flowers here more than you can? The Third Elder said with confidence. That's true. However, before you use me as fertilizer, can you first answer a few of my questions? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile on her face, as though she had completely disregarded her own life. What do you want to ask? The Third Elder asked kindly. It was obvious that he had agreed to let Lung Ruoxue be the ghost that understood the situation. Where's Godfather? Lung Ruoxue's first question was the same as before. Haha. Of course, that old thing is in my hands. The Third Elder no longer denied it and laughed complacently. Why did you capture Godfather? Although Godfather has expelled you from the family, I know that he has not mistreated you. But you still treat him like this. Are you still human? Lung Ruoxue questioned him angrily. Why? Did he treat me as his son? He's just an old man who's helping an outsider. For an outsider like you, he's actually treating us like this. Is he still worthy of being my father? Yes. You're right, he did not mistreat us in some ways, but he expelled us from the Lung clan, which has already made it impossible for us to establish ourselves in the divine realm. Isn't that mistreating us? After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Third Elder retorted with burning jealousy. You really think he did it for me? Lung Ruoxue could not help but ask. If it wasn't for you, then was it for me? The Third Elder asked in a self-mocking manner. Of course it's not for you, but it's definitely not just for me. Godfather was doing it for the Ning family. He hoped that the Ning family would be united, but you? What did you do this time? Lung Ruoxue retorted. What did I do? I want the Ning family to draw a clear line with you. Isn't that for the good of the Ning family? The Third Elder didn't think he had done anything wrong. Whether it's for the good of the Ning family or for your own selfish reasons, you know best. I'm too lazy to argue with you about this, but what I want to say is that Godfather definitely had foresight to drive you out of the Ning family. Otherwise, having a traitor like you in the Ning family would definitely be a fatal blow to the Ning family. Lung Ruoxue sneered. Haha. Well said. However, it's too late for you to say anything now. There's no way I'll let you leave today. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the Third Elder laughed instead of getting angry. Don't worry, I don't plan on leaving just like that. In addition, I also want to know what benefits did that bitch Wu Yan promise you to make you work so hard for her? Lung Ruoxue continued to ask. Chapter 2863. Are you threatening me? 3. You know that too? It seems that I've really underestimated you. However, since you want to know, I'll tell you. God Lord Rhyme has promised me a Ning family. The third elder said smugly. What do you mean? Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. From now on, I'm the master of the Ning family. The third elder said with a smile. What about the current Ning family? Lung Ruoxue asked again. Of course it doesn't exist. In the future, the divine realm will only have my Ning family. Third elder had made it very clear. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head and said, So you're saying that you're planning to destroy the current Ning family? Not bad. The third elder didn't deny that he had such thoughts. Do you think you have that ability? Lung Ruoxue sized up third elder carefully, but she couldn't figure out where this fellow got his confidence from. Ha ha ha. God Lord Fogripple will naturally help me. Besides, isn't Master Ning already in my hands? The next one is that idiot second elder. The third elder laughed wildly. Third brother. You animal. How can you treat the Ning family like this? Before the third elder could finish laughing, the second elder's angry voice was heard. The furious second elder didn't care about Uncle Long's attempts to stop him. He jumped to the center of the arena and began to curse at the third elder. What's wrong with me treating the Ning family like this? And how did the Ning family treat me? Although the third elder was a little surprised to see the second elder, who should not have appeared here, he still replied in a self-righteous manner. How did the Ning family treat you? Other than banishing you? Did the Ning family give you less territory or property? But you. What did you do this time? You colluded with the Ripple Mist bitch to harm our ancestor. Are you even human? Bah. If I had known you were like this, I would have let my ancestor strangle you to death when you were young. You animal. The second elder cursed. However, the third elder didn't take his words seriously and said fiercely, Yes, you gave me a lot of territory and wealth, but you made me unable to establish myself in the divine realm, and made my clansmen become ants that everyone in the divine realm loathed and could step on. Do you think I won't hate you? Your Ning family has always been high and mighty, but have you ever thought about the feelings of us expelled people? If you didn't make any mistakes, would you have been expelled by the old ancestor? Although the second elder knew that the third elder and the others wouldn't have a good time, he never thought that someone would dare to bully the third elder. After all, the third elder was a reverent god, so he couldn't possibly be bullied by a few pieces of trash, right? However, the third elder's words implied that their lives were rather miserable. But who could he blame? It would have been better if the second elder hadn't said that. What he said completely infuriated the third elder. Immediately, the third elder roared. I made a mistake? I just want the Ning family to draw a clear line between themselves and Lung Ruoxue. This troublemaker, is that wrong? Am I not doing this for the good of the Ning family? This? The second elder didn't know how to refute the third elder's words. After all, there were many clansmen in the family who had such thoughts at that time. Even he had almost wavered at one point. Fortunately, he followed the orders of the ancestor. Therefore, as long as it was the ancestor's decision, he would fully support it, whether it was right or wrong. However, third brother was different. This fellow had been rebellious since he was young. This time, he had even offended the old ancestor because of Lung Ruoxue's matter, which resulted in him being expelled. Hence, he more or less sympathized with third brother's situation. However, he could not say that third brother's actions were right just because he sympathized with him, right? No matter what reason you have, you shouldn't have threatened the ancestor. As he thought of this, the tiny bit of sympathy he had for the third elder disappeared without a trace. People, when one did something wrong, they would always find thousands of reasons for themselves. They would not find the reason from themselves. They would even try to blame the mistake on others to prove that their choice was right. But was this useful? The crowd's eyes were sharp. It was not as if they did not have the ability to judge right from wrong. Hence, he really could not understand why third brother would want to go against Lung Ruoxue so wholeheartedly. Was it just because of the little grudge between them? One had to know that he and Lung Ruoxue had some personal grudges in the past. But now, both of them had let go of their grudges with a smile, and were getting along quite well. Why couldn't third elder learn from him? Thinking of this, the second elder wanted to persuade the third elder to turn back from the wrong path. But just as he started, he was stopped by Lung Ruoxue. Second elder, don't waste your breath. Third elder has already joined Raimai sect. Lung Ruoxue said calmly. What? The second elder was shocked. When did this happen? Didn't it happen after third brother was expelled from the Lung family? Old man, you're such a fool. You still want to persuade him. He's long been Rhyme's dog, it's just that you don't know about it. Seeing the second elder's shocked expression, Bao Bao told him the truth. With its mind-reading ability, it had no problem reading the reverent god's mind. Therefore, the third elder's thoughts could not be hidden in front of it. How is this possible? The second elder was still in disbelief. This fact was far beyond his expectations. How could he accept this? Thanks, what's impossible? Didn't he go to the secret realm alone last time? Lung Ruoxue smiled. Don't tell me that time. The second elder stopped halfway through his sentence. Third elder, you were caught that time, right? Lung Ruoxue asked despite knowing the answer. So what if I am? Are you going to say that I've submitted to God Lord Fogripple, just because I was captured? The third elder retorted. That's right. If you hadn't sided with that witch, she would never have let you go. Besides, you've already admitted that you were her man, so why don't you admit that you sided with her back then? A man's mind is so hard to understand. Lung Ruoxue sighed, while baby Sue could not help but cover her mouth and laugh. After he was done laughing, Bao Bao said, Sister, it's obvious. If he had turned to the old bitch, Raimais at that time, he would have been the sinner of the Ning family. For tens of thousands of years, the Ning family had been free, but he had found a master for the Ning family. It would be strange if the old man of the Ning family let him off. If old man Ning had known all of this at the time, he wouldn't have expelled him at all. I'm afraid he would have been killed long ago. That's true. Baby, why is this person still not satisfied when he has clearly gained an advantage? He always felt that it was the Ning family and godfather who mistreated him. How could he have the face to think that way? Lung Ruoxue was still echoing baby Su's words and asked in confusion. Some human. He was just this shameless. Sister, let's ignore him and just cut it off. The baby suggested after he was done laughing. When the third elder heard this, he immediately sneered and said, Cut me off. In your dreams. None of you will leave here alive today. Then what do you want? You want to keep all of us here with just a few men in black? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes and asked innocently. You'll know when the time comes. The third elder laughed. Then he whistled towards the sky and looked at Lung Ruoxue proudly. Lung Ruoxue, prepare to die. All right, he said. Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. I'm sorry to disturb you. Where should I throw this trash? At this moment, an embarrassed voice was heard. The third elder turned around subconsciously and saw two handsome men standing not far behind him. At their feet, there was a pile of men in black, their fates unknown. And these? Uncle Long and the others also came over and threw a pile of garbage over. Looking at the man in black who had been thrown to the ground, the third elder was furious, while the other men in black who had survived were trembling. Woo! These people were so powerful. They didn't even notice the other party's silent arrival. What should they do? The men in black looked at third elder helplessly. The third elder, who had high hopes placed on him, could only be filled with anger and disbelief. Why are you here? Shouldn't you? The third elder could not finish his sentence. The truth was that their plan to lure the enemy had failed. The other party was unscathed, while countless people on his side had died. This fact made third elder even angrier. I'm sorry to have interrupted your plan. Oh, your plan is perfect, but it's a pity that you've met us. Ice Spirit said guiltily. Yup. We really didn't want to ruin your plan, but these men in black can't take a beating. So we can only appear in front of you alive and well. You must be disappointed, right? Uncle Long agreed. Disappointment. He was far more than disappointed. The third elder's lungs were about to explode from anger. These guys are really too detestable. He knew that the other party was not easy to deal with, so he did not rush to make a move from the beginning. He wanted to lead them to a place with a trap before making his move, but who knew that he would still fail? A sense of defeat welled up in Third Elder's heart, but he was not willing to be defeated just like that. He turned around and shouted at Lung Ruoxue with a burning rage. Lung Ruoxue, take your men and leave this place immediately. Otherwise you will see Master Ning's corpse. Bastard! Quickly release our ancestor. Hearing this, before Lung Ruoxue could even react, Second Elder could not control himself and jumped up in anger. Hehe. If you want me to release her, we'll have to see Lung Ruoxue's performance. Hearing the Second Elder's words, the Third Elder suddenly felt that he had found the other party's weak spot, so he said with a proud smile, "Are you threatening me?" Lung Ruoxue asked calmly. Chapter 2864. Don't be sad, I'm no match for you. 1. That's right, I'm threatening you. The Third Elder laughed smugly, as if saying, I'm threatening you. What can you do to me? You think your threat will work on me? Lung Ruoxue asked calmly when she saw how proud the other party was. Of course, unless you don't want to save that old man anymore. Third Elder felt that he had grasped Lung Ruoxue's weak spot and continued to threaten her. Lung Ruoxue, I've changed my mind. You don't need to bring them away now. I want you to stay here, and use you to exchange for that damn old man. How about it? What if I refuse? Lung Ruoxue glanced at Third Elder and asked. Then you'll immediately see that damn old man's corpse. The Third Elder said viciously. You animal. Woo. Hearing this, the Second Elder cursed angrily. However, just as he cursed, Uncle Long covered his mouth. He was so angry that he could only glare at Uncle Long. However, Uncle Long didn't care about the glare. He just didn't want this idiot to ruin Shue'er's plans. Lung Ruoxue, you won't reject me, right? The old man loves you so much. At this moment, Third Elder saw that Lung Ruoxue had not replied and could not help but continue to provoke her. Yes, you're right. I'm going to reject it. Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly. Then, as expected, she saw the Third Elder's dumbfounded expression and the Second Elder's disbelieving face. Following that, Lung Ruoxue continued. You want to make me stay with just these few men? Aren't you a little too confident? That's right, you dare to threaten us? Do you think you're a rhyme bitch? Let me tell you the truth. Let alone your threats. Even if that bitch Wu Cheng were to threaten us, we wouldn't fall for it. Uncle Long said with a smirk. You don't want to save that old man? Hearing the other party's words, the Third Elder's face turned black with anger, but he didn't give up. Of course we have to save her, but we don't plan on letting you go. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Shue'er, why are you still wasting your breath on him? Well, deal with him while you go and save the others. Ice Spirit, who had been watching for too long, couldn't take it anymore. All right. Leave this old man alive. Lung Ruoxue warned. Then, before Third Elder could even react, she angrily kicked him again before leaving. Third Elder, who had been kicked to the ground by Lung Ruoxue, could not react in time. By the time he regained his senses, he was already surrounded by Uncle Long and the others. Looking at the crowd surrounding him, Third Elder felt a chill in his heart. Was he going to just surrender? No. He was unwilling to accept this. With a furious roar, the Third Elder jumped up from the ground and attacked the Second Elder. Seeing this, the Second Elder was stunned for a moment. Then he was pushed aside by Uncle Long, who thought he was in the way. As a result, the Third Elder missed, and Uncle Long went to meet him. Seeing that his opponent had changed to Uncle Long, the Third Elder felt bitter in his heart. Fuck. He didn't want to fight this old whale at all. His target was the Second Elder. After all, he knew that he still had a chance of winning against the Second Elder. However, if he were to face Uncle Long, he would not even have the chance to escape. The Third Elder was extremely depressed, but what made him even more depressed was yet to come. Thanks apart from Uncle Long, Bing Pe, Dongfang Yu and Dongfang Lin, who were unwilling to be left out, looked at each other and also attacked the Third Elder. The Third Elder, who was attacked from both sides, was so angry that he almost vomited blood. You bastard! The other party was actually launching a group attack. This was really bullying. The third elder was so angry that he wanted to curse, but the other party didn't give him a chance to do so. He was exhausted from dealing with the situation, and was completely flustered. At this moment, Huanchen saw that there was no place for him to fight, so he wanted to drag third elder to deal with the black-clothed men's minions, who knew that when he turned his head, he would find that the black-clothed men had all been knocked to the ground by the poisonous snakes, foaming at the mouth and twitching all over. The old viper looked at Huanchen with an embarrassed expression and grinned. I'm sorry, I didn't leave any for you guys. Hearing this, Huanchen's mouth twitched. This was already considered cheap, yet he was still acting innocent? Forget it, if he didn't leave any, then so be it. However, what should he do with these men in black? Before Huanchen could think of a solution, he saw the venomous snakes, under Old Snake's eye signal. Each used their tails to carry a few men in black. They slowly walked to the flowers in the yard, and then uniformly threw the men tied to their tails into the middle of the gorgeous flowers. In an instant, the flowers who smelled the delicious food all went crazy. Countless tentacles reached out from the center of the flower, and stabbed into the dead man in black. Seeing the man in black's blood being sucked dry and the corpse turning from plump and lustrous to shriveled, Huanchen's forehead was filled with black lines. Could he say that these flowers were definitely the best biological weapons to destroy the evidence? And these snakes, they were indeed from different families. If Schwerer was here, she would probably have the same thoughts as these poisonous snakes. And after doing all this, Old Venomous Snake even looked a little embarrassed, as if he had snatched someone else's job and was too embarrassed to do it. Seeing this, Huanchen's mouth twitched even more. He already knew that Baby Su's subordinates were not good people, especially these snakes. But you've done something bad. Can't you be more calm? What's there to be shy about? But at this moment Old Venomous Snake fearfully said, Lord Huanchen, Miss Lung won't blame us for disposing of these black-clothed men's corpses without permission, right? I won't. Huanchen replied expressionlessly. However, he couldn't help but complain in his heart, because that girl would deal with it the same way you did. It had to be said that Huanchen understood Lung Ruoxua very well. At this moment, Lung Ruoxua had already entered the only room in the courtyard. Under Qingju's guidance, Lung Ruoxua was familiar with the place and found the underground secret room, as if she was walking in her own backyard. Lung Ruoxua easily undid the secret underground room's array and walked in. The secret room was pitch black, and the smell was not very fresh. Hence, Lung Ruoxua did not even think and immediately lit up a small flame. It instantly lit up the entire secret chamber, and at the same time, she could see everything inside clearly. At the very top of this secret room, there was a blood pool. In the middle of the pool, there was a huge blood cherry flower in full bloom. Not far from the blood pool, there were rows of prison cells. In the first cell, Lung Ruoxua had already noticed her godfather's figure. At this moment, Master Ning was unconscious. A wind blade shot out from Lung Ruoxia's fingertips and broke the lock of the cell. Then Lung Ruoxua strode into the cell and fed an elixir to her godfather. She then helped him up. Not long after, Master Ning opened his eyes. Seeing the person in front of him, Master Ning couldn't help but be shocked. Schwerer, you were also caught by that beast? Chapter 2865. Don't be sad, I can't compare to you too. No, godfather, I'm here to save you. Lung Ruoxua hurriedly replied. Wu. Schwerer, I thought I would never see you guys again. Seeing that Lung Ruoxua wasn't captured, Master Ning suddenly became weak and hugged Lung Ruoxua, wailing. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua could only try to coax him. After coaxing her godfather with much difficulty, Lung Ruoxua finally had the chance to check on her godfather's appearance. Other than his clothes being a little wrinkled, he did not have any external injuries. As for his mental state, it was not bad. She was relieved. After that, Lung Ruoxua turned her attention to the other people in the cell. Right now, in the prison cell, other than her own godfather, the only person she was most familiar with could only be the White Tiger race's Grand Elder. However, The appearance of the White Tiger race's Grand Elder was much more haggard than her godfather. Not only was his face pale, his clothes were also stained with blood. Swear, it looks like the three beasts were all captured by that beast. Master Ning's face was filled with hatred as he looked in the direction of Lung Ruox's target. Not only did that beast capture the three beasts, it also wanted him. Godfather, we'll discuss this later. You wake them up first. Oh, go and kill that blood cherry blossom. As Lung Ruoxua spoke, she handed Master Ning a bottle of pills, then left the cell with her baby. When she returned to the side of the blood pool, Lung Ruoxua threw a ball of fire at it without a second thought. In an instant, the blood cherry blossom in the blood pool was enraged. The blood in the pool churned like boiling lava, with huge bubbles rising from it. The blood cherry blossoms flapped their huge petals and let out sharp shrieks. Arg! Human, I will not let you off. Blood cherry blossom was furious. It had already pretended to be dead, so why was this woman still not letting it go? Must they kill it? The blood Sakura had thought of this, but it could no longer control the anger in its heart. In reality, when it had sensed Lung Ruox's aura, it had been so frightened that it had not even dared to breathe. After all, this woman's flames were the absolute nemesis of it. Thus, it was very afraid and had wanted to play dead to avoid this calamity. Who knew that she had no intention of letting it go and still wanted to burn it to death? Fuck. Seeing that it didn't show its might, did it think it was a sick flower? The furious blood cherry blossom knew that Lung Ruoxua was not easy to deal with. Hence, it did not hold back from the start. Countless feelers extended out from the center of its pistol, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it pounced towards Lung Ruoxua. Fuck. It's so disgusting. After dealing with Third Elder, Uncle Long, who had brought his men to support Lung Ruoxua, could not help but curse when he saw this scene. The Second Elder, who had never seen a blood cherry blossom before, was so frightened that her face turned pale. She immediately squatted on the ground and vomited in disgust. Seeing this, Uncle Long patted the Second Elder's shoulder sympathetically and said, "Second brother, you can't do it. You're vomiting just like that?" Hearing Uncle Long's words, the Second Elder was extremely depressed. "Woo, can't you not call him second brother? And don't mention that he vomited, okay?" He felt so embarrassed. Why did he vomit? The Second Elder was obviously a little too worried, and the others couldn't help but laugh when they heard Uncle Long's teasing. Suddenly, the Second Elder felt his old face burning as if it was on fire. Sob. This time, I've really lost a lot of face. The Second Elder was both worried and angry. He wanted to find a chance to prove his manly side. Thus, in the heat of the moment, he didn't even think twice before charging toward the blood cherry blossom's feelers. Second brother must have suffered quite a shock. Uncle Long continued to tease the Second Elder. Yup. He's playing with his life. Ice Spirit was speechless. The Second Elder was already pitiful enough. Why was Uncle Long gloating? However, Uncle Long wasn't the only one who was gloating. Dongfang Lin, Huan Chun, and even the other Vipers all hoped to see the Second Elder's heroic side, so they all began to cheer him on. Thanks, Second Brother is mighty. Dongfang Lin yelled. Second Brother, all the best. I have high hopes for you. Huan Chun said, not willing to be outdone. Good luck. Good luck. Second Elder, destroy these blood-sucking tubes. Old Venomous Snake led his descendants and cheered in unison. As for Lung Ruoxua, who was preparing to fight the blood cherry blossom, when she heard these voices, she was speechless and didn't know what to say. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw the main character of the voice madly rush into the middle of the tentacles. Instantly, Lung Ruox's face darkened. The Second Elder had gone mad. The appraisal was complete. He was basically delivering food to the blood cherry blossom. As expected, the blood cherry blossom welcomed the Second Elder's suicidal rhythm. It spread out several tentacles in order to welcome the other party's embrace. As soon as the Second Elder rushed into the middle of the tentacles, he tragically discovered that he was tightly bound by them. Save me. Save me. The Second Elder was a little scared. More importantly, when he looked at the tentacles up close, he felt even more disgusted, especially when he saw the red blood flowing on the transparent walls of the tentacles. He felt that he would never want to eat again in his life. Oh, it was too disgusting. That idiot. Master Ning, who had saved the white tiger great elder and the other beasts, couldn't help but curse when he saw this scene when he came out of the cell. Master Ning, please save him. Otherwise. The weak white tiger first elder couldn't help but worry when he saw the Ning family's second elder's miserable state. He had suffered the same pain before, so he knew the pain very well. Don't worry, with Schwer here he won't die. Master Ning said with some disappointment. Seeing that Master Ning was not worried at all, the great elder of the white tiger could only keep silent. At the same time, Lung Ruoxua moved closer to the blood cherry blossom, causing the petals to lean back in fear. They were afraid that the flames on the other party's fingertips would burn them. What are you afraid? If you're afraid, then let second elder go. Lung Ruoxua threatened. Even if I let him go, you won't let me go. That's why I'm not that stupid. Even if I die, I'll take someone with me. Blood cherry blossom roared angrily. Miss Lung, save me. Listening to the conversation between Lung Ruoxua and the flower, the second elder said weakly. Sob. Can you please save him first? You shut up. Feeling that second elder was a little noisy, Lung Ruoxua first shouted at him before turning to the blood cherry. If you let him go, I'll let you die a quick death. Otherwise, I'll definitely make you wish you were dead. Little flower, you're a smart flower. You should know how to choose, right? He's going to die anyway, so don't think that I'll let this stupid old man off. After hearing Lung Ruoxua's words, the blood cherry blossom was still unwilling to relent. It even felt that it would only be safe with this old man in its hands. When Lung Ruoxua heard the other party's words, she smiled indifferently and said, Little flower, this isn't your style. Didn't you want to fight me to the death just now? Come on. Show me your attitude. I'll be waiting for you. Chapter 2866. Don't be sad, I'm no match for you three. Do you think I'm that easy to fool? I wanted to fight you because I didn't have any other targets to use. Now that I have one, who would be so stupid as to want to die? Human, if you want me to let this old man go, you have to let me go. I'm not joking. Blood cherry blossom roared viciously. When everyone heard Snow Cherry Blossom's threat, they couldn't help but sigh. Since when did a flower become so intelligent? However, they also knew that this flower wasn't an ordinary flower. In this case, it was normal for this flower to threaten others. Human, think about it. Seeing that Lung Ruoxua didn't give any response, Shui Cherry Blossoms considerately asked. There's no need to think about it. It doesn't matter to me whether this old man is alive or not. If you like him, you can take him. So you still have to die. Lung Ruoxua followed Shui Yinghua's lead. Then she couldn't help but ask the second elder. Second elder, I definitely won't let go of this flower. So, for the sake of the divine realm's stability, for the sake of exterminating the Ripple Mist bitch as soon as possible, you should sacrifice yourself. When the time comes, we will hold a grand funeral for you and announce your heroic deeds to the entire divine realm. You can rest in peace. The moment Lung Ruoxua finished speaking, the second elder closed his eyes and fainted. Blood Cherry Blossom was so angry that she was trembling. Fuck. Was the other party really not going to care about this old man? It didn't believe it. In order to verify the truth, the furious Blood Cherry Blossom decided to directly suck the second elder's blood. But at this moment, several blades of divine power flew over from all directions and cut off the Blood Cherry Blossom's feelers. The second elder also fell to the ground with a bang. The second elder, who had fallen to the ground, rolled over and got up, quickly retreating from the range of the Blood Cherry Blossom's tentacles. The second elder, who felt that he had just escaped death, was now covered in cold sweat, and his face was deathly pale. After returning to the safe area, the second elder, who thought he could be comforted, was rewarded with Master Ning's iron fist. The second elder, who was beaten, could only cry, but did not dare to seek justice. He almost lost his life and was beaten up. Was there anyone in this world who was more miserable than him? However, the second elder, who knew that he was in the wrong, did not dare to say anything. He could only look at his own ancestor with an aggrieved expression. Idiot. He didn't know what was good for him. With your little strength, you still dare to move forward. Don't you see who here isn't stronger than you? The master of the Ning family shouted. The second elder obediently looked around and discovered to his dismay that, not counting the white tiger race's grand elder and the other beasts that had just been rescued, the strength of everyone present was truly above his. Even those poisonous snakes were not something he could compare to. That was because they were poisonous, and he did not. Sop. Am a reverent god after all. How did I end up in such a situation? He actually became the weakest among all of them. How could he endure this? Just as the second elder was lamenting to himself, Bing Yao, who had been watching the show from behind her father, stuck out her cute little head and consoled. Second elder, right? Don't be sad, my strength can't be compared to yours, so my father only let me watch the show. We can be considered to be in the same boat. Was this comforting? After hearing this, the second elder felt even worse. Sob. This consolation really hurt his self-esteem. He was actually on the same level as the Qilin cub. How was he going to face others in the future? When the others heard this, they couldn't help but laugh. Seeing this, the second elder only wanted to find a hole to hide in. However, he was not the only one who had a bad feeling. Compared to the second elder, Blood Cherry Blossom's feelings could only be worse. It had never dreamed that the human it had captured would be so shameless as to pretend to be unconscious, so that it would let its guard down. But what it hated more was that some humans had actually launched sneak attacks. How detestable. Despicable human. At the thought of this, Blood Cherry Blossom could not help but roar at Lung Ruoxue in a vicious and furious manner. Damn human, you deliberately attracted my attention just to let others save you? You're right, so I've decided to give you a reward. Little flower, die. As soon as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, the flames in her hands expanded by several times. Then, a ball of fire flew towards the Blood Cherry Blossom, instantly trapping it in a sea of fire. The Blood Cherry Blossom let out a series of agonized curses from within the flames. As the flames burned, the curses grew softer and softer. By the time Lung Ruoxue retracted her flames, the Blood Cherry Blossoms had already turned into ashes. The blood in the pool turned into dust and dissipated into the air. After that, Lung Ruoxue turned around and saw that the White Tiger Grand Elder and the other beasts had all been rescued. She then led the group out of the secret chamber. On the way out of the secret chamber, Lung Ruoxue saw that everyone on her side was present. She asked curiously, "Where's the third elder? Who's watching? Don't let that guy get away." Hearing this, Ice Spirit and the others had strange expressions. No one said anything. As for Old Venomous Snake, he said with an embarrassed look, "No one is watching." Did he knock her out? Lung Ruoxue guessed. Following that, she heard Old Venomous Snake's conflicted expression as he stammered. "All of our snakes bit him, so he's deeply poisoned. He won't wake up for a while." Looking at the countless little snakes in front of her, Lung Ruoxue's face darkened. Every snake bit him once? Could she say that she was starting to pity Third Elder? When Master Ning heard this, he patted Old Viper's head and said, "Good job. That beast has to be punished like this." Thanks, the old poisonous snake was a little embarrassed by Master Ning's praise. In fact, it really wanted to say that it was not a punishment, but that no one was willing to stay outside to watch that guy, and the snakes were not willing, so they bit him. While they were talking, they had already reached the courtyard. At this moment, the only person still gasping for breath in the courtyard was Third Elder. As for the other black-robed men, Lung Ruoxue could only see their black clothes, but they were all gone. However, Lung Ruoxue understood when she saw the men in black lying among the flowers. Whose idea was this? Lung Ruoxue pointed at the black clothes among the flowers and asked calmly, It's me." Seeing that no one answered, Old Venomous Snake had to admit it. "Not bad, but it's not very clean." As soon as Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, a small flame floated above the flowers. In an instant, the flowers were set ablaze. From the flames, a human-like sobbing sound could be heard. The group of venomous snakes was a little dumbfounded when they saw this. This was much cleaner, but they didn't have fire? After that, the snakes saw that Uncle Long and the others were used to it. They knew that they hadn't done it thoroughly enough. However, Lung Ruoxia's way of doing things had won the hearts of all the snakes. In an instant, Lung Ruoxia was viewed as the absolute idol by all the vipers. Even the great beast deity was ranked behind Lung Ruoxia. After dealing with the men in black, they set Third Elder's main residence on fire. Lung Ruoxia and the rest then carried the unconscious Third Elder and returned to the White Tiger territory. As for the rest of the Ning family, the Second Elder would deal with them. With the experience of escaping from death, Lung Ruoxia and the rest believed that Second Elder would not be soft-hearted towards the Ning family members who had been led astray. When they arrived at the White Tiger race's territory, Lung Ruoxia and the rest immediately returned to the mountain stream where they had stayed previously. The remaining Golden Bee tribe was overjoyed to see them return. Little Bumblebee, pack up your things. We're preparing to go home. Lung Ruoxia smiled as she spoke to the little thing that was dancing in front of her. When the bees heard this, they danced even more happily before they disappeared in front of Lung Ruoxia and the others. When they reappeared, they had clearly packed up. Then a human-shaped piece of trash was thrown in front of Lung Ruoxia and the rest. Looking at the man in black, Lung Ruoxia turned to Master Ning and said, "Godfather, I'll leave this person to you. No need, just cut it off. I don't want to see him again." Master Ning didn't even raise his head and said directly, Don't waste it, let us test the medicine." The moment Shenhua heard that, she hurriedly said, "All right." Master Ning was very generous. As for the unconscious man in black, he had no idea that his fate had been decided. But whether he knew or not, it was obviously not important to everyone. Following that, everyone did not say a word to the White Tiger race, and quietly returned to Demon City. The first thing Uncle Long did when he got home was to arrange a territory for the Golden Bee tribe and the poisonous snakes. Fortunately, they did not care about the size of the place, as long as they could get closer to the beast deity. However, the Golden Bee tribe still had a small request, and that was that the place they lived in must have many flowers. Uncle Long heard this and thought, isn't it easy to spend more money? In the end, he decided to give a part of the garden to these little things as their territory. The Golden Bee tribe was naturally very satisfied with the garden. After arranging their living quarters, Uncle Long went to the living room to attend the hearing. The one being interrogated was, of course, the Third Elder, but when Uncle Long arrived at the living room, he realized that the Third Elder was still unconscious. What was going on? The interrogation hasn't started yet? After sitting down, Uncle Long looked at Master Ning, who obviously didn't look too good. He tried hard not to ask, but he was very curious in his heart. How far had they gone? After looking at the crowd for a long time, Uncle Long even coughed a few times deliberately to remind everyone of his existence. But Ice Spirit and the others only looked up at him and said nothing. Uncle Long was even more puzzled. In the end, he fixed his dazed gaze on Lung Ruoxia. Lung Ruoxia sighed and said, "Godfather, how do you plan to deal with this person? He's a sinner of the Ning family. This kind of person can't be kept. Just kill him." After a long time, Master Ning gave his opinion. Hearing this, Uncle Long was even more confused. They decided to kill him just like that. Chapter 2867. You've already been exposed, stop pretending. 1. At first, Uncle Long thought that although this man had done something wrong, he was still the son of the Ning family's old boy, so he should at least be spared. Who knew that the old man from the Ning family would directly kill him without saying a word? What kind of situation was this? However, no one explained to Uncle Long, which made him anxious. Finally, Uncle Long couldn't take it anymore and shouted, "Can any of you tell me how the interrogation is going?" Towards the end, Uncle Long's voice subconsciously lowered as he faced everyone's surprised gazes. He even felt a little guilty. Sighing, Master Ning looked at Uncle Long again and said, "Not only did this beast seek refuge with Wu Yan, it has also hurt many of our people. Therefore, we can't stay here any longer. Then let's do it." Uncle Long didn't want to get to the bottom of it, so he agreed. "Schwer, help me deal with this beast. Don't let him die too easily." Master Ning stood up and said to Lung Ruoxia after hearing what Uncle Long had to say. He then left the living room alone. Watching her godfather's back view, Lung Ruoxia sighed softly. Then, she turned her gaze to third elder, who was lying on the ground. With a thought, she moved third elder into the bracelet. After that, Lung Ruoxua also stood up and left. In the next few days, the Lung family's residence in Demon City was shrouded in a dark cloud. Lung Ruoxua and the others did not feel good because of Master Ning's sorrow and loneliness. When the second elder finished dealing with the third elder's problems, and rushed to Demon City to report to the second elder, he clearly sensed the dejected atmosphere in Demon City. He was at a loss for what to do. The great ancestor ignored him, and Uncle Long and the others ignored him as well. The only people who talked to him every day were the golden bees and the poisonous snakes. Sops. How did he end up like this? The second elder was a little worried. The old snake couldn't stand it. He couldn't control others and wouldn't listen to him, but the second elder should be an obedient little guy. After thinking about this, old venomous snake poured all his love into second elder. Every day, he would not only ask for warmth, but also prepare food and bring it to second elder. Unfortunately, second elder would feel nauseated at the sight of food, so he could only disappoint old venomous snake's love. However, the old viper didn't give up and continued to prepare food for the second elder. He was completely treating him as his own grandson. The final result was that the second elder hid far away when he saw old venomous snake. However, the old venomous snake was definitely a snake with quite a strong will. Therefore, under its relentless pursuit, the second elder fled from the land of demons in an extremely sorry state. The moment the second elder escaped, the white tiger race, dragon race, and phoenix race came knocking on his door. With a guest, Uncle Long and the others naturally couldn't be as lonely as before. Therefore, except for Master Ning, who was still worried, everyone else appeared in front of the three beasts in high spirits. In the living room, the three beasts looked at Uncle Dragon and the others uneasily. They wanted to say something, but they hesitated. Uncle Long saw that they didn't dare to say anything and got angry. "You bastard! If there's something to say, say it. If there's a fart, let it out. You're also hemming and hawing like a man. If there's something, just say it. Why are you so hesitant?" Uncle Long couldn't take it anymore. However, his words were still reserved. At least he didn't curse directly. Of course, this was also because he saw that the beasties in front of him looked extremely haggardly, so he was much more amiable. "That. Is Miss Lung around?" After hesitating for a long time, the white tiger first elder finally spoke as a representative. "She is, but Schwer is cultivating. If there's nothing important, don't disturb her." Uncle Long said after thinking for a while. "Thanks, we would like to express our gratitude to Miss Lung in person." The white tiger first elder said after taking a deep breath. "Thank you? How do you want to thank me?" Uncle Long asked, blinking his eyes. The three beasts were dumbfounded. Uncle Long's words were so direct. How could they respond? They had prepared some gifts, but they were afraid that he would not like them. More importantly, they had a favor to ask of him. "You haven't thought about it? If you haven't thought it through, then go back first. We're very busy." Seeing that the beastie was silent, Uncle Long had no choice but to say, "Yes, we've prepared some small gifts." Seeing that the other party had the intention to chase him away, the white tiger first elder hurriedly said, "Oh, just leave it to me." Uncle Long said. The representatives of the three beast clans were completely dumbfounded. Did the other party mean that they were not allowed to see Lung Ruoxua? This can't do. With this thought in mind, an elder of the dragon tribe quickly said, "Uncle Long, on the account that we all have the bloodline of the dragon clan, can you let us meet Miss Lung? I said Schwer is busy. I don't have time to see you. In addition, stop trying to get close to me. Who has the blood of the dragon race like you? I'm not related to you." Uncle Long didn't give him any face at all, and he immediately choked the dragon elder to the point that he couldn't say anything. Hearing Uncle Long's words, the great elder of White Tiger knew that it was useless to try to get close to him, so he could only tell him the truth. "Uncle Long, we have a favor to ask of Miss Lung." "You have a favor to ask? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Uncle Long asked faintly, but he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. These old things, are they always so blunt when they speak and do things? Do they have to beat around the bush? Ugh. Wasn't it hard to say earlier? The White Tiger First Elder could not help but think to himself. Of course he couldn't say this out loud. Otherwise, he would be ridiculed by Uncle Long and the others. After making up his words, the White Tiger First Elder said, "We had originally planned to personally beg Miss Lung." "You mean other than swear we can't help you?" Uncle Long interrupted the White Tiger First Elder before he could finish. It was obvious that Uncle Long was a little angry, and the White Tiger First Elder was even more at a loss. Originally, he had wanted to elevate Lung Ruoxia's status, but he had not expected that he would accidentally offend Uncle Long. What should he do? The White Tiger First Elder was at a complete loss. He could only look at Uncle Long with tears in his eyes and a pitiful expression. "Please be pitiful. But we really have no reason to help you," Uncle Long muttered to himself. The representatives of the three beast tribes immediately burst into tears upon hearing this. Sobs. Did this mean that he didn't want to care? "Uncle Long, don't be like this." After a long silence, the White Tiger First Elder finally pleaded with a choked voice. "How am I?" Uncle Long blinked in confusion. "Don't ignore us," the White Tiger First Elder said with tears streaming down his face. "Great Elder White Tiger, do you think Demon City is the savior? Who has to care?" Hearing this, Uncle Long laughed and couldn't help but ask, "I didn't mean it that way. We have a bit of friendship, right?" The First Elder of the White Tiger clan asked carefully. As he spoke, he looked at Uncle Long's expression, afraid that his words would anger the other party. Chapter 2868. You've already been exposed, stop pretending. 2. Great Elder White Tiger, we're just making a deal. Where's the friendship? Don't you forget that your three beast tribes betrayed us back then, and were our enemies. Now you're asking for the enemy's help. How can the kings of your three clans bear this? Uncle Long sneered. Hearing this, the White Tiger First Elder was heartbroken. Was the other party going to fall out with him? However, it seemed like his race and Demon City really did have a deal. Sup? What should I do? Uncle Long glanced at the White Tiger Great Elder's bitter face and ordered. Come beast, bring the king of the three beast clans in. The little golden bees immediately received the order. And not long after, the kings of the three beast clans were led to the living room by a group of venomous snakes. The representatives of the three families didn't know what to say when they saw their king in such a sorry state. They didn't understand why Uncle Long had brought the three kings here. The three high-spirited beast kings were now dispirited. Their heads were drooped, and no one knew what they were thinking. At this moment, Uncle Dragon pointed at the representatives of the three beast races and said to the Phoenix King, the White Tiger King, and the Dragon Emperor, "These elders want to ask us for help. What do you three think?" Hearing this, the Phoenix King was the first to raise her head. When she saw the elder of the Phoenix tribe, she immediately roared, "Fuck! Did you guys take the wrong medicine? Who was the one who caused the Phone Clan to fall to this state? You still want to ask them for help? Get back to the Phone Clan and stop embarrassing me." Upon hearing the Phoenix King's angry roar, Uncle Long smiled faintly and said, "The Phoenix King seems to be in a good state of mind." Upon hearing this, the Phoenix King was shocked to realize that she had exposed herself. Your sister. Previously, she had pretended to be dispirited so that she would suffer less, but she didn't expect to be exposed so quickly. Sob. How was she going to live her days in the future? The Phoenix King was so regretful that his intestines turned green. She was the one who exposed herself. However, even though she was regretful, since she had already been exposed, she couldn't let herself suffer no matter what. So without thinking, she kicked the White Tiger King and the Dragon Emperor's buttocks and roared, "You've already been exposed, stop pretending. Your sister. You're the one who's exposed. Why did you expose us?" The White Tiger King and the Dragon Emperor were enraged. For a moment, the three beast kings glared at each other like roosters. Seeing them like this, Uncle Long laughed very happily. On the other hand, the representatives of the three beast tribes blushed, and they wanted to find a hole to hide in. You bastard! This was their king? Was this really too embarrassing? However, Uncle Long obviously didn't think that they had embarrassed themselves enough. He smiled and said with an unusually kind attitude, "You guys haven't seen each other for so long, catch up." Remember, don't fight. If you break anything here, you'll have to pay 100 times the compensation. After saying that, Uncle Long left with the others. When they returned to the living room, it was already a few hours later. Thanks after a few hours, the representatives of the three beast tribes were already in a sorry state. However, the kings of the three beast tribes were clearly in an even more miserable state. Especially the White Tiger King. When he saw Uncle Dragon, it was as if he had seen a family member. He immediately hugged Uncle Dragon's leg and started howling. He even begged Uncle Dragon to save the White Tiger race. Uncle Long was baffled. He turned to the White Tiger First Elder and asked with his eyes, "What did you feed this old white tiger? How did he suddenly become so weak?" Fuck. She was even hugging his thigh. Uncle Long kicked the White Tiger King away in disgust and sat down on a chair. He then looked around the living room. Oh. Good, nothing was broken. It seemed that these beastie had completely taken his words to heart. "Uncle Long, please save the White Tiger race." At this moment, the White Tiger First Elder also knelt down in front of Uncle Long and cried bitterly. "First Elder of the White Tiger clan, what are you doing? Didn't you already save the White Tiger race?" Uncle Long blinked and asked in confusion. "Only a portion of them were saved. The other half is in the hands of that bitch, Wuxia." Speaking of this, the White Tiger First Elder was completely enraged. More importantly, the rescued clansmen had all lost too much blood, and their combat effectiveness had been reduced, including them. Although they were standing in front of Uncle Long and the others as if nothing had happened, in reality, their bodies were severely depleted, and they were like arrows at the end of their flight. But were also enemies. Uncle Dragon reminded the White Tiger King, "Uncle Long, aside from Demon City, no one else can contend against that bitch rhyme. So you can't just leave us here, right?" The White Tiger First Elder quickly said, "You're wrong. Right now, even Demon City can't contend against that Ripple Mist bitch. So I don't think we can help you." Uncle Long said honestly. In fact, the reason why he rejected them was because he looked down on some of the Three Beast Clan's actions. They clearly had something to ask of him, but they didn't say it directly when they came. Who were they trying to play tricks with? They didn't have the time to play guessing games with each other. More importantly, Uncle Long felt that the other party was not sincere. As such, the Three Beast Tribe's request for help naturally failed. The representatives of the Three Beast Tribes choked with sobs upon seeing Uncle Long's direct rejection. Uncle Long was annoyed by their cries and couldn't help but shout, "What, now you regret it? When you first joined the Fog Ripple bitch? Why didn't you think that this day would come? Is this retribution?" It was undeniable that Uncle Long had vented his anger after seeing the Three Beast clans in such a state. This was the result of asking a tiger for its skin. Initially, he had planned to let Schwer tame the ORCC from the Three Beasts tribe. But now that he saw them in this state, he really didn't have any such thoughts at all. Even if such a beast was tamed, it would not be of much use. Uncle Long looked at the crying representatives of the Three Beast tribes with a look of disdain, and continued to roar. "Cry. You guys only know how to cry. A bunch of trash. To think that you all call yourselves the Four Great King Divine Beasts. Look at your current appearance. Do you have the aura of the Four King Divine Beasts? To tell you the truth, in our eyes, you are also our enemies and should be destroyed. And now that she's helped us, we can't thank her enough. You're still counting on us to help you save people? So what if he saved her? They will still become our captives." Uncle Long's words were venomous, but the White Tiger First Elder couldn't help but say, "Uncle Long, didn't you guys save us before? So what? Just because I saved you before, I have to work like a horse for you?" Uncle Long said hatefully. At this moment, he really regretted suggesting for Schwer to tame them. If it weren't for his suggestion, they wouldn't have known that the Three Beast tribes had fallen, and they wouldn't have been entangled with them so naturally. But that was then and this was now. Seeing that the Three Beasts only knew how to cry and hug someone's thigh when they were in trouble, Uncle Long had completely given up on the idea of Schwer taming them. These useless beasts, even if they were tamed, it would only be a waste of food. Rather than that, it would be better to let them live and die on their own. In any case, since things had already come to this, they could no longer collude with the rhyme bitch, nor would they pose any threat to them. Chapter 2869. You've already been exposed, stop pretending. 3. With that thought in mind, it was even more natural for Uncle Long to despise them. After that, he ordered the poisonous snakes to move out and send the representatives of the 3 beast clans away. After the 3 orc tribe representatives were kicked out of Demon City, they didn't leave. Instead, they lingered at the foot of the mountain and decided to stay. In the living room, seeing Uncle Long drive away the representatives of the 3 beast tribes, Dongfeng Yu couldn't help but tease. What, you don't want Schwer to subdue them? Those trash. Other than doing some physical work, it's really not of much use. Uncle Long said in disdain. He regretted it. He regretted giving Schwer this stupid idea. Actually, Schwer doesn't need them to be of much use. They just make up the numbers. Dongfeng Lin said with a smile. Uncle Long was stunned. He had to see them to make up the numbers, right? Now he really didn't want to see those useless people who only knew how to cry. Make up for what? Lung Ruoxue heard the conversation between Uncle Long and the others just as she walked into the living room. She couldn't help but ask curiously. Hee. Dongfeng Lin smiled as he recounted what had happened to Lung Ruoxue in detail. After Lung Ruoxue heard this, she smiled faintly and said, "So be it. However, you have to collect the reward for saving them. Don't worry, I've already sent the thank you gift." Dongfeng Lin smirked. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head. At this moment, the baby ran in happily and jumped into Lung Ruoxue's arms. "Sister, don't you need to practice beast taming? I've talked to Old Snake and the others. They're willing to let you tame them." "Really? Baby, don't force them to agree," Lung Ruoxue said sternly. "Miss Lung, Lord Beast Deity didn't force us to agree. We did it willingly." Old Venomous Snake, who had just arrived, quickly said. They knew that Lung Ruoxue's cultivation technique was different from the rest, and one of them required her to master the beast taming technique. In order to defeat Wu Jing, the old viper felt that it was necessary for them to support her. After all, they had a common enemy with Lung Ruoxue. In addition to their relationship with the beast god, they were extremely close to Lung Ruoxue, no matter how one looked at it. Furthermore, they were very optimistic about Lung Ruoxue's character, so they did not reject the idea of becoming her beastie. As for Lung Ruoxue, after hearing Old Venomous Snake's words, she was so touched that she didn't know what to say. She even felt that her luck was really too good. There were always some kind and understanding beasties around her, and these beasties were so sincere towards her. She naturally had to return the favor. "Thank you, I won't mistreat you." After some thought, Lung Ruoxue only said this. Old Venomous Snake simply smiled and said, "Master, we finally don't have to call you Miss Lung this time." Hearing this, everyone could not help but laugh. After that, Lung Ruoxue and the rest came to the courtyard. The venomous snakes had already assembled. Other than the venomous snakes, the Golden Bee tribe had also rushed over to join in the fun. The Golden Bee leader looked at Lung Ruoxue and smiled in embarrassment. "We're here to join in the fun. Master won't mind us, right?" "Thank you." Lung Ruoxue touched the head of the leading Golden Bee. She would remember the sacrifices these beasts had made for her. In the future, they would all be his family. After successfully taming these beasts, Lung Ruoxue signed the equality contract with them. After that, she could clearly feel that her beast taming skills had improved by several levels. In fact, after she had arrived in the immortal realm, beast taming techniques had basically disappeared, so there was no way to test the levels of a beast tamer. There was also no detailed record of a beast tamer in the heaven-defying art. Therefore, she could only rely on her previous experience and slowly explore to advance. However, now it seemed that a beast tamer still needed to tame more beasts before they could successfully advance. Even though Lung Ruoxue wasn't sure what rank her beast taming technique had reached, she had a feeling that it wouldn't take much for her beast taming technique to reach the Great Circle. This result made her rather excited. When Uncle Long and the others saw the smile on Shue'er's beautiful face, they thought that her beast taming technique had reached the great success stage. However, when they asked, they found out that she was still lacking a little. Immediately, everyone's faces turned bitter again. The old viper didn't say a word and quietly left Demon City. Old venomous snake had left quite secretively, and no one had noticed him at the time. By the time they realized that old venomous snake was gone, the other party had long disappeared. Everyone really wanted to ridicule old venomous snake's elusive appearance. Why didn't this old fellow say a word before he left? 3 days later, old venomous snake returned in high spirits. Looking at the old viper who seemed to have returned home in glory, Uncle Long, who was the first to see him, couldn't help but tease. "I say, old venomous snake, you found a second spring? Why are you so happy? You've only just found a second spring. I've brought a lot of beasts for master." Old venomous snake said proudly. "Thanks, beastie. Where is he?" When Uncle Long heard this, he couldn't help but look up and down. However, other than the old poisonous snake, there was no trace of any other beastie. "They'll be here in a few days. We have to pack up and move the whole family." Old Snake said matter-of-factly. "That's true." Uncle Long nodded. Uncle Long was very grateful for Old Snake's kindness, but at the same time, he felt that he hadn't done enough. At least, he didn't have so many beasts in his hands to take out. Uncle Long was worried. Wait a minute. Wasn't he just a beastie? After being a human for so long, Uncle Long had almost forgotten that he was also a beastie. Now that he suddenly recalled it, he immediately left the old venomous snake and ran off to find Lung Ruoxua. Upon seeing Lung Ruoxua, Uncle Long said directly, "Shuai-er, please tame me." The moment he said this, Lung Ruoxua was baffled. The others also looked at Uncle Long as if they were looking at a lunatic. "Uncle Long, if you haven't taken your medicine, go back and take it. Are you crazy?" The head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters couldn't help but ridicule. "You bastard. You're the crazy one. Your whole family has gone crazy. I'm speaking from my heart." Uncle Long exploded when he heard this. He was about to go crazy, especially when he saw that everyone else was looking at him with a look of deep agreement. "All right. Truth. But why did you ask Shuai-er to tame you?" The first elder of the blacksmiths still had a look of "Are you crazy?" on his face. He looked at Uncle Long. "Shuai-er needs beastie, right?" "I'm the same," Uncle Long said matter-of-factly. This time, everyone finally knew the crux of the problem. However, after getting along with Uncle Long for so long, they had long since stopped treating him as a beastie. Lung Ruoxua felt the same way. When she heard Uncle Long's words, she was speechless as if she had seen a ghost. "Uncle Long, I've never treated you as a beastie, and I don't dare to tame you. Shuai-er, are you looking down on me?" Uncle Long said sadly. "No, in my heart, you're my elder. How can I tame you?" Lung Ruoxua was almost driven mad by Uncle Long's resentful tone as she hurriedly replied, "But this is for your cultivation." Uncle Long continued to persuade. "That's reasonable. I should also support you." Ice Spirit, who had been sitting silently on the side, suddenly spoke. Ice Spirit also joined in the fun, and this scared Lung Ruoxua so much that she couldn't sit still. Lung Ruoxua stood up from her chair and said carefully, "I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do, so I won't be accompanying you guys. Everyone, please help yourself." With that, she disappeared from everyone's sight. Seeing Lung Ruoxua running away in a panic, the Weapon Craftsman Guild's first elder sighed and said, "Look at how you've scared Shuai-er. What are you trying to do?" "I'm serious." Uncle Long and Bing-Pa said in unison. It was undeniable that the actions of the poisonous snakes and the Golden Bee tribe had touched them greatly. This was something that they had never thought of before. Now that they thought about it, they were really incompetent. They had known Shuai-er for a long time, but the poisonous snakes and bees had gotten there before them. Serious my ass. By doing this, have you ever thought about Shuai-er's feelings? She treats you like family, the chief elder of the Craftsmen's Guild reminded. That's why we should be in front of those poisonous snakes and bees. But now, we're clearly behind. Uncle Long said before the great elder of the Craftsmen's Guild could finish. No matter what you think, just give up on that idea. Sighing, the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild said, "Yes, there are many beasts in the world. If there's not enough, I'll go to the lower realm to catch them. I don't need you to offer your bodies." Dongfang Yu was also speechless. The lower realm beastie's strength is too low. It's useless to capture it. Uncle Long said in a low voice. Clearly he had not given up yet. I don't need you. Just do what you need to do. Dong Fengyu said angrily. After being yelled at by him, Uncle Long immediately became obedient. However, whenever he saw Shui, he could not help but want to mention this matter. It scared Lung Ruoxue so much that she did not dare to leave her room for a few days, afraid that Uncle Long would pester her. Fortunately, Old Venomous Snake's actions were very effective. 5 days later, all the friends he had gathered had arrived, and Lung Ruoxue was finally able to escape from Uncle Long's pestering. The following taming process went smoothly. After signing the equality contract, Lung Ruoxue finally felt that her beast taming technique had reached perfection. This fact moved Lung Ruoxue to tears. More importantly, Uncle Long finally had no reason to pester her anymore. She no longer had to hide from Uncle Long in fear. Everyone was happy when he found out that Lung Ruoxue's beast taming technique had finally reached the great circle of perfection. Uncle Long was initially a little disappointed because he was still unable to help. However, his disappointment only lasted for a moment. He immediately felt happy for Shui. However, he was also a little worried. Shui-er's beast taming technique had reached perfection, so wouldn't the White Tiger King and the others be useless? One had to know that those 3 guys were prepared to make up for Shui-er's numbers, but now it was obvious that they were not being used, so how should he deal with them? Chapter 2870. First time in the Chaos World. 1. After telling Lung Ruoxue about this, she suddenly recalled that there were 3 prisoners that could be tamed. However, what was the point of taming them? Be a servant? To be honest, she really didn't want to see those 3. Besides, Feng Zhan and Bai Su wouldn't let them go. If they escaped just because she had tamed them, she would be depressed to death. After some thought, Lung Ruoxue said, Senior Ice Soul, didn't you want to deal with the 3 of them? But we can't kill them yet. After all, they're traitors. We can't let them die easily. Yes. Uncle Long nodded in agreement. He quickly took the 3 prisoners to find the ice spirit. As for Lung Ruoxue, after she had perfected her beast taming technique, she immediately went to look for Shui Mo, and the 2 of them went to study the array together. Shui Mo was a formation fanatic. After he finally caught Lung Ruoxue, he wouldn't let her go. No one could ask him for her. Shui Mo even said that whoever wanted to snatch Lung Ruoxue from him would have to defeat him. When everyone heard this, they immediately gave up fighting for Shui and went to do what they were supposed to do. As for Lung Ruoxue, in order to buy more time, she brought Shui Mo into the bracelet and used time acceleration. This way, the 2 of them had more time to study the formation. Shui Mo, on the other hand, was relatively calm after seeing Shui-er's space. He only took one look before entering the room that Lung Ruoxue had prepared for him, and buried his head in studying the array. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue felt that she couldn't fall behind too much, so she quickly followed him in. Just like that, Lung Ruoxue continued to hide in the bracelet and focus on her own matters. The matters of Demon City were still left to Uncle Long and the others. Another 3 years passed. The people who had gone out to gain experience returned in high spirits. Mu Li and the others, who had been sent to watch over them, had also returned. The first thing Mu Li did when he returned was to ask about Lung Ruoxue. When he heard from Uncle Long and the others that Lung Ruoxue had once come out of closed-door cultivation, but was now in closed-door cultivation again, his face was filled with regret. Why didn't you wait for me? Mu Li was very depressed. He had been loitering outside for the past 3 years. Other than hearing about the situation in Demon City, he had never heard of Lung Ruoxue coming out of seclusion. Otherwise, he would have returned long ago. Why wait for you? Are you the Lord? Mingda asked with a smirk. We're also old acquaintances. Mu Li said dejectedly. In reality, he wanted to see Lung Ruoxue's current condition so that he could report to his lord. But now there was no chance. Old acquaintance or new acquaintance, Shui is very busy. I don't have time to reminisce with you now. After hearing Mu Li's words, Uncle Long also said, Little dragon, why have you learned from Ming Ji? How dare you bully me? Seeing that Uncle Long didn't help him, and was even suspected of hitting him when he was down, Muli was deeply worried. You're my senior. How would I dare to bully you? Uncle Long said as if he had been wronged. You're all bullying me. Wu, Shuer, come out and help me. When Muli heard this, she cried out in grievance. What are you howling for? All of a sudden, a slightly displeased female voice was heard. Everyone turned around when they heard it, and happened to see Lung Ruoxue standing not too far away from them, looking at a certain someone with a helpless expression. Thanks a certain someone was still unaware of it. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, it was as if he had seen his savior. With tears in his eyes, he pounced on her and hugged her leg tightly as he sobbed. Shuer, you have to help me. They are all bullying me. They're bullying me for being alone. Woo. Lung Ruoxue's face darkened when she heard this. She forcefully pulled her leg away and said in a speechless manner, Muli City Master, you're still alone? Alright, quickly get up. Don't act pitiful. After not seeing her for a few years, why did Muli seem to have changed? Or was this his true face? Lung Ruoxue was disappointed. Muli saw that it was useless to pretend to be pitiful, so she got up resentfully and kept complaining. Didn't they say that you'll only be soft-hearted if you act pitiful? Could this information be wrong? That also depends on the person. You can forget about it. Hearing Muli's words, Lung Ruoxue was even more speechless. Shuer, how can you look down on me? Muli was unhappy when she heard that. She looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of resentment. Why do I feel that these words sound so familiar? Blinking her eyes, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but look at Uncle Long. Instantly, Uncle Long's face turned red. He quickly changed the topic and asked, Shuer, how's your cultivation going? I've already perfected the formation, but am still lacking in alchemy and blacksmithing, mainly because I don't have the materials. Lung Ruoxue said, feeling a little depressed. Initially, she thought that she had prepared enough materials. Coupled with the years of hard work in the bracelet, her alchemy and weapon refinement skills had reached the level of a weapon god and an alchemy god. This was already considered the top level among alchemists and weapon masters. Who knew that Qingju would tell her that it was only the level of an ordinary alchemist and weapon master? The requirements for her were not that simple. If she wanted to be a paragon in alchemy and blacksmithing, she would have to be able to forge primal chaos divine pills and acquired primal chaos divine weapons. Just by hearing these two names, one would know that it must be something grand. In fact, this was indeed the case. Since they dared to call themselves chaos, they must be related to chaos. Therefore, in addition to the air of chaos, some of the materials needed must be produced in the land of chaos. This was the first time Lung Ruoxue had heard of the land of chaos, let alone the fact that she had no idea where it was. According to Qingju's explanation, the land of chaos was where he was born. That was the home of the living beings born from chaos. To put it bluntly, that place was also the home of his master and the demon. Qingju also said that the land of chaos actually bred many things, but only a few of them could become living beings. Those lifeless materials were the best materials to refine chaos divine pills and Hotian chaos divine weapons. However, the land of chaos was far and unknown, and it was not something that ordinary people could reach. She even said that she couldn't go now. When she heard this, Lung Ruoxue really wanted to curse the heavens. You bastard! If she couldn't go, how was she going to refine medicinal pills and divine artifacts? When Lung Ruoxue told Uncle Long and the others what Qingju had told her, they were dumbfounded. Can't go? Can't go? Then what should he do? Without the materials, Shuer's alchemy and weapon refinement could not reach perfection. If she could not reach perfection, it meant that Shuer could not advance. If she could not advance, she would not be able to fight against fog ice. This chain reaction was closely related. Wasn't this a scam? Originally, when Uncle Long heard that Shuer didn't have enough materials, he had wanted to ask her what she was lacking. But now that he heard it, what was it that he couldn't help with? Instantly, Uncle Long became depressed. Most of the people present were also depressed. AI. The things that Shuer came into contact with were getting more and more high-end and sophisticated. It was obvious that ordinary reverent god-level cultivators could no longer help her. Chapter 2871. First time in the Chaos World, too. Everyone could not help but sigh. At this time, Muli blinked her eyes and asked carefully, "What's the relationship between the land of chaos and the Chaos World?" "The chaotic lands are the chaotic world. It's just called differently." Suddenly, a voice interrupted. Muli looked up, and then quickly turned back. He couldn't afford to offend this guy. "Wu. Girl, I can bring you to the land of chaos." The little white beast jumped into Lung Ruoxia's arms and said with a smile, "Song, if you leave, what will happen to the divine realm?" Lung Ruoxia asked worriedly. Right now, Fog Ice did not dare to cause trouble for Demon City. Her injuries had yet to fully recover, and her fear of Azure was another reason. If Azure was not around, that woman might cause trouble again. Her? Don't worry, her injuries won't heal so quickly. Azure smiled evilly. Ever since Nyo and the others destroyed Rhyme's new base in the Ning family's divine realm, it could be said that the old bitch's injuries were even worse. Thus, he was not worried at all that Rhyme would take advantage of his absence to do some small tricks. Can I say something?" Hearing the conversation between the man and the beast, Mu Li, who had wanted to play dumb, asked in a low voice. "Speak." Lung Ruoxia was speechless. Why was Mu Li acting like a mouse seeing a cat when she saw Tsong? Was there a need to be so afraid of Tsong? When he saw Tsong lie, he spoke so carefully and even asked, "If you have a fart, then let it out." Song Yi said. His words were rough, and this guy was the demonic man's confidant, so he was naturally within the range of his rejection. "In fact, I wanted to say that Master is in the Chaos World." Muli took a few deep breaths and looked at Song Ho vigilantly before telling the truth. "Where's the demon?" Lung Ruoxia was astonished. "Why did that fellow run off to the land of chaos? Are you bored?" "Yes, my lord and little Tian have been living there for several years." Muli nodded. "Little Tian?" Lung Ruoxia furrowed her brows. She didn't know why, but when she heard these two words, she felt a little uncomfortable. On the other hand, Azure had an evil smile on his face as he provoked. So that evildoer can't stand loneliness and is cohabiting with someone else. Girl, dump him. There are many good men out there. Lung Ruoxia was silent. How should she respond to this? Muli was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. This was slander. It definitely was. "My lord. It's none of my business. It's that cat who wants to sow discord. If you have any dissatisfaction, please settle it with that cat." Sob. It really had nothing to do with him. Muli wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Uncle Long and the others who were listening by the side were also drenched in cold sweat. Did they hear some confidential information that they shouldn't have? Would he be killed? The evolution of the divine realm was becoming more and more dangerous. It made Uncle Long and the others want to go back to their hometown and hide. But it seemed like hiding was useless, right? They didn't understand the battle between high-end people. At this moment, Uncle Long and the others felt how small they were. Whether it was Tsong or Demon, if these two were to fight, it would definitely be a world-shaking battle. If things were not handled well, the divine realm would be in trouble. And now, they could only pray that Shuer was rational and wouldn't be angered by Tsong's words. "Shuer, calm down." He had to stay calm. After turning their expectant gazes to Lung Ruoxia, Uncle Long and the rest smiled ingratiatingly, making Lung Ruoxia exceptionally speechless. Thanks. Did Uncle Long and the others think that she would be angry? Ai. Even if she was angry, she would not vent her anger on an innocent person. After giving Uncle Long and the rest a comforting look, Lung Ruoxia smiled at Muli and said, "Since the demon is currently in the land of chaos, I'll have to trouble the Muley City Master to cooperate with me and open the space channel. I'm going to find him. Girl, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll take you there. It's better to leave these trash here." Song didn't give Muli a chance to reply, and quickly replied. Of course, the trash it was referring to was Muli, Ming Ji, and the others. "Yes, we should stay here. Let Senior Tsong take you there." When Muli heard this, he immediately agreed and very tactfully used the word trash on himself. In fact, every time he saw them, Song would directly call them trash. As he called them that, he got used to it. What about Uncle Long and the others? Lung Ruoxua asked again as she looked at Uncle Long, who was obviously looking forward to it. Let's go together. I'll also bring the little fellows of the divine realm to experience it. You should know that such an opportunity is rare. Azure waved his fat claws. Uncle Long and the others were very excited to see Tsang agree. He had to bring them along to broaden their horizons. Such opportunities were rare. Can I come along? Seeing that he didn't seem to have a share, Ming Ji still didn't give up and wanted to confirm. You're not from the divine realm. I don't care. I want to go find your master. Azure said in an unfriendly manner. Sob. Ming Ji burst into tears. Don't people always say that the guest will do as the host pleases? Why did the host leave the guest behind to look after the house? What kind of master was this? Minga was so sad. As a guest, he really had no status. At the thought of this, he could not help but turn to look at Lung Ruoxua. However, Lung Ruoxua only smiled apologetically and said with a smile, I'll leave Demon City in your hands. These words broke Ming Ji's heart. He deeply felt that he would never love again. Sobs. What a pitiful customer. The heartbroken Minga glared at the excited Uncle Long and the others with tears in her eyes. Then she disappeared from the spot. He didn't want to see these hateful people anymore. They were too annoying. Hee, you guys go and have fun. Don't worry, I'll take care of Ming Ji and the others. Muli was afraid that Lung Ruoxua and the rest would feel awkward, so he quickly expressed his opinion. We're not worried. Lung Ruoxua replied honestly. Alright. He had done too much. Muli was in tears. After that, Lung Ruoxua and the rest started to make preparations for their journey. He brought all his family members, whether they were in closed-door cultivation or not. This was mainly to guard against the miasma's surprise attack, and those weak little guys became cannon fodder for no reason. With this, Demon City was practically empty. After the poisonous snakes, the Golden Bee clan, and the 3 clans' fresh blood that had returned from their training were all taken away by Lung Ruoxua. The Qilin clan also strongly requested to go for a trip when they heard the news. In the blink of an eye, only Muli and a few others were left in the huge Demon City. Looking at the empty main residence and the entire Demon City, Muli really felt like a gatekeeper. And this feeling was really not good. However, Lung Ruoxua couldn't care less. After packing everyone up and bringing along quite a bit of food, she carried Azure and left Demon City for the god-protecting pagoda. After leaving Demon City and reaching the foot of the mountain, Lung Ruoxua was suddenly blocked by a white tiger that had appeared out of nowhere. The white tiger blinked its watery blue eyes and looked at Lung Ruoxua. As she watched, she suddenly burst into tears without any warning. Lung Ruoxua's face darkened. Chapter 2872. First time in the Chaos World 3. Who was this white tiger? Lung Ruoxua's face was filled with question marks. These beasts all looked the same in their original forms. Unless they had been with each other for a long time, she really couldn't recognize them. Especially when the white tiger was still crying. Lung Ruoxua was annoyed by her crying and said in a bad mood. Why are you crying? Did I bully you? She was the one who was blocked, okay? Didn't people say that good dogs don't block the way? Now it was actually a tiger blocking the way. Miss Lung, please don't leave us alone. The white tiger immediately sobbed when it heard this. Do I know you? Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes. Hearing this, could it be that she had given up on him? I'm the great elder of White Tiger. Don't you recognize me? The white-colored great elder said with a sad expression. It's you. Is there something you need? Lung Ruoxua played dumb. She had heard about the 3 Beast Clan's request from Uncle Long and the others. However, she was powerless to do anything about it. Moreover, she didn't expect that after 3 years, the White Tiger Great Elder was still guarding the foot of the Demon City's mountain. His perseverance made her admire him a little. Although 3 years was nothing more than the blink of an eye for a cultivator, it was clearly not easy for the proud White Tiger First Elder to guard him for 3 years. This could also prove that the White Tiger race was really at a life-and-death juncture. Otherwise, this old man wouldn't be loitering around here. Miss Lung, only you can help us. The White Tiger First Elder said with tears in his eyes. After guarding for 3 years, he had finally met Lung Ruoxue. It had not been easy. I wonder how I can help you. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. Some of our clansmen are still in the hands of that witch. The White Tiger Grand Elder cut straight to the point. I'm sorry, Grand Elder White Tiger. You've seen my strength for yourself. I can't beat that fogripple bitch. Lung Ruoxue interrupted the first elder of the White Tiger clan before he could finish his sentence. I know that it will be difficult for young Miss Lung to exterminate miasma right now. We can wait. As long as young Miss Lung is able to exterminate that woman and rescue the White Tiger tribesmen one day, it will be fine. As a reward, I am willing to lead the White Tigers to acknowledge young Miss Lung as their master. The White Tiger First Elder gathered his courage and said. It was afraid that Lung Ruoxue would not let it finish its sentence, so it spoke very quickly. It was willing to acknowledge her as its master because it had heard from a certain clan member that Lung Ruoxue needed to be tamed. As such, it felt that the other party would definitely be satisfied with its reward. However, it could never have imagined that the news about it was already old. Lung Ruoxue had even told it directly that she no longer needed Beastie. Upon hearing this grievous news, the White Tiger First Elder was immediately dumbfounded and fell to the ground, crying bitterly. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, the black lines on her forehead gradually increased. The First Elder of the White Tiger cried out pitifully as if the sky was about to fall. However, to him, not being able to make Lung Ruoxue agree to save his clansmen was no different from the sky falling. Looking at the huge white tiger crying like a child in front of her, Lung Ruoxue couldn't deny that her heart had softened. After all, she didn't have much of a conflict with the White Tiger First Elder. In fact, this old white tiger had always tried to maintain a good relationship with her. Now that she saw it crying like this, she didn't feel good. Alright, don't cry. As long as your clansmen can hold on, I'll naturally save them after the Rhymice is destroyed. However, I can't guarantee the time. Lung Ruoxue, who had always been at her wits' end, sighed. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the White Tiger First Elder suddenly raised his head and stared at her with his watery blue eyes that had just cried. He was in disbelief. It didn't hear wrong, right? The other party agreed. Thank you, Master. I believe my people can hold on as long as you are willing to save them. After obtaining Lung Ruoxue's promise, the White Tiger First Elder was invigorated. Wait. Don't call me Master. Saving them was just a passing act. Lung Ruoxue stopped him with a look of disdain. She didn't want to take in these useless people now. When the White Tiger First Elder heard this, he was dumbfounded again. He was not allowed to call her master? This meant that he would not accept his reward. Was this person really the Lung Ruoxue it knew? Was she the Lung Ruoxue who would definitely receive payment for helping? Could it have been switched? Since when did Lung Ruoxue not ask for rewards for doing good deeds? White Tiger's First Elder looked at Lung Ruoxue, as if he did not know her. However, Lung Ruoxue couldn't be bothered to explain to the other party. From her point of view, even if she didn't accept these guys, someone else would naturally accept them. If that was the case, why would she bother to do anything? After that, Lung Ruoxue turned to the White Tiger First Elder and said, Now make way. I have something to do and I don't know when I'll return, so you don't have to stay here. Oh. The depressed White Tiger First Elder opened up a path and sent Lung Ruoxue away with his resentful gaze. However, he did not choose to leave and instead gathered more white tigers. The White Tiger First Elder felt that since Lung Ruoxue was not around, they should help guard the door and the forest. In case some blind people came to cause trouble, although the White Tiger's strength had regressed a lot, they still had a deterrent force. Just like that, without Lung Ruoxue's knowledge, a few uninvited gatekeepers appeared at the foot of the mountain. As for Lung Ruoxue, she brought Azure along as they continued on their journey to the god-protecting pagoda. I knew Nyo would be soft-hearted. Suddenly, Song said, Thanks, I can't say that I'm soft-hearted. If the 3 beast tribes are still alive after we've destroyed Fog Ice, I'll naturally release them. Therefore, The White Tiger First Elder's worries were completely unnecessary. Moreover, I only let him feel at ease because that old man rarely goes against us. Lung Ruoxua said honestly. Azure, head to the God-protecting pagoda. Why don't you teleport? Lung Ruoxua then changed the topic. Why did you teleport? Wasn't it good to look at the scenery? It wasn't that far to begin with. Azure said as a matter of course. Alright. Then can I move Uncle Long and the others out? At first, Song said that it was tiring to be alone. At that time, she thought that Song could teleport, so she sent Uncle Long and the others into the bracelet to save some divine power for Song, who knew that Song had planned to walk. As such, Uncle Long and the others naturally didn't need to stay in the bracelet. It was more lively when there were more people. However, Song rejected Lung Ruoxia's suggestion and said righteously, let them save their strength. Otherwise, they will have a hard time in the land of chaos. Since Tsongdu had said so, Lung Ruoxua, who had never been to the land of chaos and had no idea what the situation was like there, could only agree. 2 days later, Lung Ruoxua and Song arrived at the God Pagoda. According to Tsong, the land of chaos was closer from the God-protecting tower, because there was a spatial tunnel that connected to the land of chaos. Of course, only Tsong Kai knew the coordinates of the other end of the spatial tunnel. Moreover, Lung Ruoxua would need to be escorted by him for her to pass through. Lung Ruoxua believed Song's words 100%, and Song was naturally very proud of himself. When they reached their base camp, Song brought Lung Ruoxua to the top of the God-protecting pagoda. It was also Lung Ruoxia's first time at the God-protecting pagoda at the top. Initially, she thought that this place was no different from where Tsong usually stayed. However, when she actually arrived, she realized that this place was completely different from what she had imagined. The spiritual energy at the top level of the God-protecting pagoda was very dense. However, it was a pitch-black fog, and she couldn't even see her fingers in front of her. However, Lung Ruoxua could feel that the spiritual energy here was a little brutal. Girl, the spiritual energy in the land of chaos is even more violent than here. Song, who knew Lung Ruoxia's thoughts, laughed evilly. Will Uncle Long and the others be able to come out from there? Lung Ruoxua asked speechlessly. She was starting to regret bringing Uncle Long and the others along. If they were unable to withstand the violent spiritual energy in the land of chaos and got injured, she would feel guilty. There shouldn't be a problem with the Divine Lord, but he can't stay for long. He could only look through the light screen. Actually, there's nothing much to see in the land of chaos. It's not even as good as my God-protecting pagoda. Cold Truth said. Oh. Song, when are we leaving? Lung Ruoxua nodded and asked. Now girl, close your eyes. Azure ordered. Lung Ruoxua nodded. The moment she closed her eyes, she could clearly feel a flash of light before her eyes. She started to feel dizzy. After an unknown period of time, Song said to Lung Ruoxua, Girl, open your eyes. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she immediately opened her eyes. What came into view was a beautiful blue sky. Lung Ruoxua was completely stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of her. What do you think? When Azure saw this, he couldn't help but be proud. The space tunnel I took you through is much stronger than that demonic man's, right? Lung Ruoxua was speechless. Was there a need to compete in this? However, not long after Tsong finished speaking, the scene in front of Lung Ruoxua changed again. This time, Song was so depressed that he couldn't say anything. This was because it didn't have to be smug for long before the spatial passageway became exactly the same as when the demon had broken through the void. Extreme Azure Chi. Damn it. He really didn't give it any face. Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but laugh in her heart as she stroked the fur on Song's body to comfort him. Song, how much longer will it take to reach the land of chaos? Sensing that Song was still angry, Lung Ruoxua could only change the topic. Within 5 minutes. Azure replied in a depressed manner. 5 minutes later, Lung Ruoxia's vision turned even darker. Girl, we've arrived, Azure said. Lung Ruoxua stepped out of the space tunnel with Song in her arms. She looked at the gray and blurry scene in front of her and felt conflicted. There was no path in front of him, so where should he go? In addition, the ground under her feet was soft, as if she was stepping on cotton. Lung Ruoxua lowered her head to look at Song in her arms, her eyes pleading for help. Hee hee girl, just walk around. This is how it is. You'll get used to it. Cold laughed evilly. All right then. Lung Ruoxua nodded. Since Tsangdu had said so, she could only get used to it as soon as possible. However, the feeling of his feet not being able to touch the ground was really a little strange. Chapter 2873. Guilty Conscience of the Rules of Heaven and Earth. 1. After walking for a while, Lung Ruoxua finally got used to this head-heavy feeling. Then, with a thought, she moved Uncle Long and the others out. When Uncle Long and the others came out, the first thing they felt was dizziness, and then they swayed violently. After they managed to keep their balance with great difficulty, they finally had time to look at everything in front of them. Was this the land of chaos? It gave off a desolate feeling. Looking at the square inch of land in front of them, they were quite curious about how the materials here grew. Where did it grow? After a round of searching, Uncle Long and the others couldn't find a place suitable for plants to grow. They couldn't find any stones that could be used to refine weapons either. Shui, can you really find the materials you need here? Uncle Long asked with uncertainty. I should be able to. I just don't know where it is. Lung Ruoxua was also a little confused. She absolutely believed Qingju's words. However, she had no idea where the materials were. Girl, don't worry. The things you want are definitely here. However, this is the outer area of the land of chaos. You understand? Hearing Lung Ruoxua's words, Song smiled. All right. I understand. Lung Ruoxua nodded and led Uncle Long and the others in a random direction. Io. As they were walking, they suddenly heard a scream. Lung Ruoxua quickly turned around and saw Lu Feng falling to the ground, half of his body covered by the thick fog. Are you all right? Lung Ruoxua hurriedly walked over and pulled Lu Feng up. I'm fine. I just tripped. Lu Feng stood up in a sorry state, still holding a big gray stone in his hand. What is this? Lung Ruoxua asked curiously. I don't know. It's probably some kind of forging material that I don't recognize. Lu Feng hugged the heavy boulder like it was a treasure, unwilling to let go. Let me see. First Elder walked over and said, If you want let me see, go find it yourself. Lu Feng dodged, but still held the big stone he didn't recognize tightly. Seeing this, Song couldn't help but laugh and said, All right, stop fighting. It's just an ordinary stone. Puchi. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but laugh wildly. Only Lu Feng's face was red. He angrily threw the stone on the ground and mumbled in a low voice. Why are there ordinary stones here? It's unbelievable. Why not? Do you think there are treasures everywhere? Let me tell you, stop dreaming. Other than the year-end fog and the brutal spiritual energy, the living environment here can't be compared to the divine realm at all. Azure smiled as he explained. No wonder there's no one here. Lu Feng said as he suddenly realized. Hearing this, Azure was somewhat speechless. He continued. Those who can live here are not human. Everyone was silent. Was this considered an insult? However, they also understood Song's meaning. This was a place where special life forms were born, so it was naturally not a place where ordinary life forms could live. They had only stayed here for a short while, but they were already finding it difficult to breathe. Thanks then, everyone continued walking. This time, even if Lu Feng encountered a rock, he wouldn't be so surprised. However, he didn't plan on letting go of any stones he encountered, but he would first ask Song. And after getting a positive answer, he would decide whether to keep or leave those stones. Just like that, the group continued on their way, searching for treasures along the way, and they really did find many materials that could be used for forging artifacts. When they first saw the materials, the blacksmiths were extremely excited, but Song doused them with cold water. This was because Song had told them that they could not use the materials at all, unless they had the Chaos Divine Flame. Instantly, the weapon craftsmen wilted. Their initial excitement from coming to the land of chaos was doused by Song, this bucket of cold water. Anything related to chaos was too high-end, and not something they could possess or bear. Seeing that the weapon craftsman had suffered such a huge blow, Shen Nua and the other alchemists were no longer confident. However, before they could ask the question in their hearts, Song very calmly told them that they could not use the medicinal ingredients here either. In an instant, the excited alchemist and blacksmith teams suffered a huge blow. The two groups of fellow brothers huddled together and cried bitterly. Sob. How could they be so cruel? Have you cried enough? Really, so what if he couldn't use it? I think it's worth it to come here. Uncle Long couldn't take it anymore when he saw them crying. Yes, it's already a great opportunity to be able to come, so you guys don't have to be so greedy. Ice Spirit said helplessly. You guys don't understand the pain of alchemists and artifact masters. Seeing the ingredients in front of you, but not being able to use them is the most unbearable thing for pill masters and artifact masters. First Elder raised his head and sobbed when he heard this. Then what do you guys think we should do? You don't have the Chaos Divine Flame. Ice Spirit couldn't help asking. Schwerer, can you help us melt it? No matter what, you have to let us experience the materials of the land of chaos. After hearing Ice Spirit's words, First Elder turned to look at Lung Ruoxua with anticipation. All right, he said. Lung Ruoxua nodded. She could tell that if she didn't agree, these few people would be in so much pain that they would wish they were dead. AI, alchemists and blacksmiths. All of them were materials fanatics. Seeing that Lung Ruoxua had agreed, the few alchemists and weapon refiners immediately came to life as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Then they began to search for the ingredients that could be used in detail like hard-working bees. Seeing them like this, the people present could only feel helpless. As they had searched too carefully along the way, they had yet to reach the center of the land of chaos, even after walking for a long time. In the end, Song couldn't bear it anymore and shouted, "Don't search here anymore, this is only the outer area, there are more good things inside." With this, the Armament Guild headquarters, Great Elder and the others gave up on the carpet search and reluctantly quickened their pace. After walking for an unknown number of days, when Lung Ruoxua and the rest felt that the spiritual energy had become more violent, Song finally told them with certainty that they had arrived at the center of the land of chaos. The spiritual energy in the center was 10 times more brutal than that in the outer regions. According to Song's thinking, anyone below Reverent God level could do whatever they wanted. After the Great Elder and the others understood Song's meaning, they immediately cried, the depression in their hearts unable to be described. Sob. They had been tricked. He was even despised. They had clearly agreed that there would be more materials in the center, but now that they were here, they didn't want them to stay outside. Wasn't this bullying? However, it was undeniable that the spiritual chi here made the Grand Elder and the others feel a little uncomfortable. Lung Ruoxua did not know how to comfort First Elder and the rest when she saw their regretful and worried faces. She could only follow Azure's instructions and send them back to the bracelet. When they entered the bracelet, the First Elder and the others could not help but cry out loud. Seeing this, Qingju could only comfort them. AI, you guys are too weak. Chapter 2874. A guilty conscience about the rules of heaven and earth. Too weak? They were divine emperors. In the divine realm, a divine emperor was in existence that was only second to Reverent God level. Why did Green Vessel say that his strength was too low? Sob. Is this how you comfort others? This was like pouring salt on other people's wounds. With this thought in mind, the First Elder and the others from the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters looked at Qingju resentfully and said, Qingju, do you have a way to get us out? We just want to personally collect the materials. They could accept that they couldn't use the materials here, but they couldn't accept it if they couldn't do it in person. They had to go out and witness the birth of those materials with their own eyes. Qingju was in a difficult position. His sister had sent them in for their own good. He couldn't go against his sister's wishes, right? Qingju, you must have a way, right? Seeing that Qingju seemed to have something to hide, the chief elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters quickly asked, if I was at my peak, it wouldn't be a problem to protect you outside. But now, I can only let you stay outside for an hour a day. After an hour, you still have to come in. Facing the great elder's expectant gaze, Qingju could not bear to lie to him, so he could only tell him the truth. When First Elder and the others heard this, they thought that an hour would do too. It's better than being locked up in the bracelet. With Qingju's guarantee, the First Elder and the others strongly requested Qingju to send them out. Qingju was helpless. He could only bid Leng Ruoxue farewell before sending them out. Faced with the First Elder and the others who were so insistent on coming out to personally gather the materials, Leng Ruoxue could only helplessly accept it. Fortunately, the Great Elder and the others were more punctual and did not cry or make a fuss because of the short time. Just like that, time passed day by day. Leng Ruoxue and the rest slowly moved towards the central region. However, Leng Ruoxue still did not discover any traces of the demon. Initially, she had asked Qingju about it. However, Qingju's strength had not fully recovered yet, and this was the land of chaos, so he could not probe too far away. When she asked Song only told her that they would meet if fate brought them together. Instantly, Leng Ruoxue's temper was extinguished by Song's words. All right. They would meet again if fate brought them together. It seemed like she could only wait patiently. As they were approaching the center of the area, they discovered more and more materials. They had no choice but to slow down. Leng Ruoxue was also hoping that the demon would find her first. However, after an unknown period of time, the demon did not come. Instead, another uninvited guest came. Looking at the dark purple ball of lightning that was throbbing violently, Leng Ruoxue really wanted to know what it was. However, Song only cared about looking at the other party and did not even bother to introduce it to her. Detestable. Who gave you the permission to break open the void? After a long time, the crazily beating dark purple ball of lightning roared. Facing the other party's anger, Azure only laughed. Who said I broke through the void? What a joke, I'm just going home. Do I need to break the void? Thanks, how could you come here if you didn't break the void? Azure, don't forget your identity. You can't leave the divine realm as you wish. The thunderbolt ball could not help but remind him. I didn't leave. It didn't even break the void. Don't tell me you've forgotten that my God-protecting tower is connected to this place? Are you trying to stop me from going home? Azure said calmly. Ugh. The thunderbolt ball was stunned. It had really forgotten. However, after seeing Leng Ruoxue, the lightning ball couldn't help but shiver. It then roared. I can't stop you from going home, but why did you bring so many people to the chaotic world? This isn't a place where they can survive. You're harming them. Don't talk to me about all this nonsense. If that evil man can bring people here, why can't I? Are you looking down on me? Why don't we have a fight? Song Qing raised her eyebrows and asked with a smile. Who wants to fight you? This isn't a place where you can fight as you please. The thunderbolt ball said angrily. Tisk, if you can't beat me, just say it. I won't laugh at you. After hearing this, Azure said disapprovingly. Who can't beat you? I said you can't fight here. The thunderbolt ball said stubbornly. All right. If you say we can't fight, then we can't fight. However, don't even think about stopping me from taking Neo and the others here. Azure smiled evilly. This is not a tourist spot. Song's words made the lightning ball angry again. However, it still asked, when do you guys plan to leave? I don't know. I'm here with Neo to collect materials. If there aren't enough materials, I definitely won't leave. Azure replied with a smile. Then what materials are you lacking? I'll give them to you. After thinking for a moment, the ball of lightning formed. It seems like they like to collect it by themselves. Azure said as he played with his furry little paws. These words made the thunderbolt ball burn with anger. Your sister. If he liked to collect them by himself, did that mean he wouldn't leave for a while? This can't do. It already had quite a few uninvited guests, so it definitely could not allow Leng Ruoxue and the rest to stay here. It could not let that demon know that Leng Ruoxue was here, or it would be the one in trouble. To be honest, it was not too afraid of the demon if it was on its own. However, if Leng Ruoxue was added to the mix, it had to consider the serious consequences that the other party might bring. Because when it was facing Leng Ruoxue, it would always feel a little guilty. And it was this trace of guilt that made it unable to act as self-righteously in front of Lung Ruoxue, as it did in front of the demonic man and Song. It was extremely anxious about the laws of heaven and earth that had transformed into a thunderbolt ball in its heart. It couldn't understand why it was feeling guilty. It didn't do anything to let Lung Ruoxue down. Everything was according to the rules. However, even if it thought so in its heart, when it saw Lung Ruoxue, it couldn't help but feel its heart tremble. It was a feeling similar to meeting a natural enemy. The laws of heaven and earth knew that they had no confidence in front of Lung Ruoxue. Even though it did not know what was going on, it wanted to hide the moment it saw Lung Ruoxue. It did not want her to meet the demon. This was also the main reason why that demon had not noticed Lung Ruoxue's arrival. It had blocked off the area within 100 miles of Lung Ruoxue. And the laws of heaven and earth were simply unimaginable. If that demonic man found out what it had done, he would probably use the destruction of this place to threaten it. Hence, it really hoped that Lung Ruoxue and the rest could leave as soon as possible. They must not let that demon find any clues. However, as they got closer and closer to the demon, the laws of heaven and earth became more and more uneasy. Otherwise, it would not have appeared at this time. However, after it appeared, that detestable Song refused to leave with the rest. Furthermore, Lung Ruoxue was eyeing it like a tiger watching its prey. All of this caused the laws of heaven and earth to feel increasingly uneasy. But could it force him out? If Zhongzhen were to cause a ruckus and alert that evil man, the consequences would be even more unimaginable. Chapter 2875. A guilty conscience about the rules of heaven and earth 3. Thinking of this, the lightning ball formed by the laws of the world couldn't help but release a deep sense of sorrow. In an instant, the atmosphere turned cold. Uncle Long and the others watched from afar, not daring to take a step forward. Life forms that could live in the land of chaos were definitely not simple. Uncle Long and the others were quite tactful about this. In a high-level battle, they could just be onlookers. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue, who could not figure out the identity of the thunderbolt ball, finally could not take it anymore and interrupted. Song, who is this guy? He. Girl, you guess. Song Ming knew that Lung Ruoxue was very interested in the lightning ball's identity, but he deliberately kept her in suspense, making Lung Ruoxue so angry that she gritted her teeth and deliberately said, "Could he be your brother? You bastard. Who's its brother?" The two voices roared angrily in unison. "Then who are you?" Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and asked calmly. "I am the law of the world." The laws of heaven and earth that he was not prepared for blurted out instinctively when Lung Ruoxue asked him this question. The moment it said this, it deeply regretted it. It felt extremely uneasy and wanted to retreat, but Lung Ruoxue did not give it the chance to do so. It blocked the path of the laws of heaven and earth. Lung Ruoxue confirmed with a cold voice. "You're a law of the world?" Aye. The regulations of the heaven and earth were somewhat at a loss for words. Could it say that it was not? Wu. Faced with Lung Ruoxue's oppressive aura and her body that was emitting a cold light, the guilty heaven-earth law slipped away. Is this really the law of heaven and earth? So this is what the laws of the heaven and earth look like. At the same time, Uncle Long and the others didn't care about the other party's identity and surrounded him curiously. It had to be said that they were disappointed to see the regulations of heaven and earth. In their minds, the laws of the world were the supreme controllers of laws, and sometimes even the divine lords and the dark lords had to be restrained by them. However, the high-end laws of the world in their minds were actually just a small ball of lightning. This was something they really couldn't accept. Disappointment. How disappointing! A deep sense of disappointment lingered in the hearts of Uncle Long and the others, and they no longer looked at the laws of heaven and earth with respect. As for Lung Ruoxue, she immediately stretched out her hand to grab the lightning ball. However, the heaven-earth law nimbly dodged it. "Uncle Long, help me catch this guy. I'm going to take care of it," Lung Ruoxue said angrily to Uncle Long and the others. Lung Ruoxue, who had held a grudge against the laws of heaven and earth for a long time, would not let it go no matter what now that she had seen the laws of heaven and earth. Since she dared to separate her from the evildoer, she had to be prepared to accept her revenge. When Uncle Long and the rest heard Lung Ruoxia's words, they immediately nodded their heads to express that they would definitely cooperate with her. However, after hearing their conversation, the regulations of the heaven and earth couldn't help but shiver and ask, What are you guys doing? I'm the law of heaven and earth, so don't mess around or I'll punish you. Let's punish him. I'd like to know what kind of punishment he'll receive for beating up the regulations of the heaven and earth. Lung Ruoxia laughed coldly as she approached the laws of heaven and earth. The laws of the heaven and earth carefully and slowly retreated. Wu! How could he bully the laws of the heaven and earth like this? This woman, why wasn't she afraid of its threat? The laws of the heaven and earth were extremely abnormal. What a big pervert! If it was anyone else who heard its threat, they would have been so scared that they wouldn't dare to make a move. However, this woman in front of it was still so aggressive that she didn't intend to let it go, and even wanted it to punish her? Your sister. There was no punishment for bullying the rules of the world. As he thought of this, the laws of heaven and earth became even more sorrowful. Yes, bullying the laws of the heaven and earth was simply a waste of time, and the laws of the heaven and earth had no way of taking revenge on them. Otherwise, it would also be punished by the laws. It was not fair. It was too unfair. As the spokesperson of the laws, why didn't he have any personal safety? Protest. It wanted to protest. It demanded human rights. It demanded protection. Unfortunately, no matter how much the heaven-earth law protested in her heart, the laws did not move at all. Lung Ruoxia, who had planned to use violence, was slowly approaching the heaven-earth law. The regulations of the heaven and earth were so frightened that their little hearts were trembling, and they kept shouting, Stay away, all of you stay away from me. Why are you running? Let's have a heart-to-heart talk. Seeing that the laws of heaven and earth were running around like headless flies, Lung Ruoxia began to coax them. I have nothing to talk to you about. Go away. I'm going home. The laws of heaven and earth were enraged. Where's your home? I'll be the guest. Lung Ruoxia asked with a smile. Don't. My family doesn't welcome you. The regulations of heaven and earth wanted to cry, but had no tears. Why was this woman so difficult to deal with? He was the law of the world, the controller of the laws. Could it be that the other party was not afraid of it at all? Why? What was this for? The laws of heaven and earth howled in pain. Even if you don't welcome me, I still want to go, Lung Ruoxia said with a firm attitude. Thanks you rascal. The laws of the heaven and earth were furious. They had never seen such a thick-skinned woman. Was she still a woman? Whatever you say. Take me to your house for a chat, or I'll find a way to destroy this place. Lung Ruoxia also threatened. Hearing this, the grief and indignation in the heart of the regulations of the heaven and earth increased by countless times. Was this what humans always said? If you're not a family, don't join the same family? That damn evildoer threatened it by destroying this place, and now this woman in front of it actually used the same trick. The laws of heaven and earth were really infuriated. However, it really fell for this. Woo. If it wasn't for the fact that it was sure that the two of them had not met up so far, it would have thought that they had made up. The heaven-earth law was somewhat helpless. What should it do? He was really bringing Lung Ruoxia home? If that was the case, wouldn't the evildoer be meeting her? No. This was absolutely not allowed. The regulations of heaven and earth, which were extremely unwilling for the two of them to meet, remained silent for a long time. Lung Ruoxia treated it as if it was deep in thought, and did not disturb it. At this time Tsang, who also didn't want Nyo to see the devilish man so quickly, opened his mouth and said, Girl, why go home with it? If you want to clean up, then do it here. There's really nothing to see in this guy's territory. Yup. There's nothing to see in my home, so let's settle our grudges here. Hearing Tsang's words about the laws of heaven and earth, he immediately cooperated. At this time, it didn't care about being afraid. The most important thing was to not let this violent man and woman who liked to threaten the rules of heaven and earth meet. Otherwise, its good days would come to an end. However, Lung Ruoxia wasn't that easy to fool. Seeing how the regulations of the heaven and earth refused to bring her home as a guest, She became suspicious. Then, she smiled and said to the rules of heaven and earth, "It's fine if we don't go to your house. Please get my man here. I heard that he's here. Can I not look?" If he found that evildoer, these two people would definitely team up to bully him. Thinking of this outcome, the regulations of the heaven and earth shook their heads decisively. "I don't know where your man is." "You really don't know?" Lung Ruoxue examined the laws of heaven and earth suspiciously before shouting at the top of her lungs. "Freak! A monster! Where are you? I've been bullied. Fuck. Can you not be like this?" The regulations of the heaven and earth were so depressed that they wanted to scratch the wall. Lung Ruoxue, on the other hand, was getting more and more excited. In fact, she didn't know if the evildoer could hear her call. However, seeing the way the regulations of heaven and earth were rejecting her, she felt that it was suspicious no matter how she thought about it, so she tried to shout. As expected, the lightning ball's color darkened after hearing her calling out to the evildoer. Lung Ruoxue thought that it was because it was so frightened that its expression changed. From this, she was sure that the evildoer was not far away. Since she knew that the demon was not far from here, Lung Ruoxue started to shout even louder. Seeing this, Uncle Long and the others also shouted the demon's name loudly. When they saw the rules of heaven and earth, they were so depressed that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall. "It's finished! It's finished!" This place was so close to the demonic man's residence. Even if it tried to hide Lung Ruoxue's aura, some of her voice would still be heard. After all, it didn't dare to completely hide from the entire chaotic world. Otherwise, the demonic man would have found out about it. Now it couldn't hide it anymore. More importantly, Lung Ruoxue had already started to scurry around, calling out for the evildoer from all directions. The regulations of the heaven and earth were extremely vexed. It was likely that they had lost this time. And the truth was just as the heaven-earth law had thought. The demon who had been cultivating in his room suddenly opened his eyes, as if he had heard Shui Er's call. However, at the beginning, he had only heard a sound and thought it was an illusion. After all, Shui had been in seclusion, and wouldn't come out so soon. Thinking about this, the demon sighed helplessly. He really missed Shui so much that he was hallucinating. However, just as he was about to close his eyes and continue his cultivation, Shui Er's voice entered his ears again. Although the sound was not loud, he heard it very clearly. It seemed to be very similar to his. With a bitter smile, the demon knew that he was really hallucinating. How could Shui be here? However, he heard Uncle Long and the others' voices intermittently after that, which made him alert. If he had only heard Shui's voice, he might have missed her too much. However, he shouldn't have missed Uncle Long and the others to the point that he was hallucinating, right? Thinking of this, the demon decided to contact Mu Li to ask about Shui's situation. However, he did not expect that he could not contact Mu Li. He stood up with a whoosh. The evildoer had already realized that it might be a certain restless fellow who was up to no good. Stepping out of the room, the demon directly flashed out of the palace, and began to lock onto the position of the law of heaven and earth. But why couldn't he find that guy? Blocked me. Chapter 2876. The Light Bulb Duo. 1. There was definitely something fishy about this. The demon only needed to think for a moment before he guessed that there was something fishy going on. He thought he hadn't caused any trouble for little Tian, but little Tian had blocked him. He must have done something shameful. With such a connection, the demon began to carefully search for little Tian's whereabouts. He believed that as long as he found little Tian, the truth would be clear. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue's voice was getting clearer and clearer. This made the search for the demon even more intense. "Shui, are you there?" the demon asked loudly as he searched. Their voices entered the ears of the laws of the world at the same time, causing their hearts to tremble in fear. "Your sister. Was this the rhythm of the male and female leads meeting? What about after they met?" Recently, it had fallen in love with idol dramas from another time and space, and had often watched them secretly using its authority. It had developed according to its script. It deeply felt that the first thing the male and female protagonists would do when they met was to settle the score with it, the bad witch who had broken up the loving couple. Sob. "What should I do? If there was only one person's combat power, it could still bear it, but these two people, they were definitely courting death. No. He would rather die than let these two guys meet now. Although it could stop them for a while, it couldn't stop them forever. There would naturally be a chance to see these two guys in the future, but the future could be discussed in the future. For now, avoiding risks was the top priority. The rules of heaven and earth had the rhythm of a turtle hiding its head. It did not care about what was in front of it, and did not care about the future. It even felt that when the little human girl who was born with the chaotic divine body became a real master god, she might forget that it had once separated the two lovebirds. Therefore, at this moment, it did not want the two of them to meet. It believed that time would wash away everything. But now time was still too short. Therefore, it could only deceive itself and be a coward. This was also because the heaven-earth law did not understand Lung Ruoxia at all. To Lung Ruoxia, hatred was something she could never forget. It was only related to the morning and evening newspapers. From the very beginning, she had no intention of letting go of the laws of the heaven and earth. However, she wasn't sure how she should deal with the laws of heaven and earth. She was even more conflicted after seeing that her true body of the laws of the world was just a ball of lightning. If the laws of the heaven and earth could transform into a human form, she would be able to give the other party a good beating. But now? Would it know pain after hitting this guy? These thoughts kept on running through Lung Ruoxia's mind, causing her to be at a loss for what to do. Hence, at this moment, she really needed the demon to give her some ideas. After all, they were both born in the land of chaos. As for Tsang, Lung Ruoxia truly felt that she should just forget about it. Based on the series of actions since she arrived at the land of chaos, no matter how slow Lung Ruoxia's reaction was, she could tell that the other party would not let her meet the demon so easily. In some aspects, Songhe's goal was completely the same as the laws of the world. Lung Ruoxia was well aware of this. Song, who was also aware of Lung Ruoxia's thoughts, was extremely calm. In reality, it was also conflicted. Every time it saw that Neo was sad because of that devilish man, it couldn't wait to catch the devilish man and let him coax Neo. But now that the two of them really had the chance to meet, it was still a little unwilling in its heart. Thanks, but it couldn't stop Neo from coming here to find materials, just because that devilish man was here. After all, cultivation was more important. It was undeniable that the three of them were all conflicted. As for the demon who had been searching for the whereabouts of the laws of the heaven and earth, he was depressed. After calling out for so long, the laws of heaven and earth didn't even respond. This was enough to prove that this guy was definitely doing something shameful. To be precise, it was something that he couldn't see. After confirming this thought, the demon began to think about what method he could use to force out the laws of heaven and earth. After all these years, the control of the laws of the heaven and earth over the chaotic world was definitely stronger than his. Thus, if the other party did not take the initiative to show himself, he really could not do anything about it. Especially when the other party had blocked him. The difficulty of finding the laws of the heaven and earth had increased greatly. After thinking about it for a long time, there were only two ways to find the laws of the heaven and earth. One was to do an inch-by-inch search, but the weakness of this method was that it was slow. The chaotic world was almost boundless. If they used this method to search and that guy was deliberately hiding, it would take a long time to find him. The second method was to directly destroy this place. At that time, the laws of heaven and earth would definitely appear to stop him. However, he was a little worried if he really used this method. If Shui and the others really came here, wouldn't they be in trouble? The demon was deeply worried. He was in a difficult position. In the end, out of consideration for the safety of Shui and the others, he decided to carry out an inch-by-inch search. His decision was exactly what the laws of heaven and earth wanted. The carpet search gave the heaven-earth law the time to feel for the oil. Of course, no one knew about the idea of the laws of the heaven and earth. Lung Ruoxia was in a stalemate with the laws of heaven and earth. On the other side, the demon had already started to search with his divine senses. The demon searched from the periphery bit by bit, not letting go of any corner of the chaotic world. After searching for an unknown amount of time, He suddenly felt that his divine sense was being obstructed. It seemed to be here. Little Tian. I know you're in there. Get the hell out. After the demon found the suspicious location, he said directly. Hearing these words, the heaven-earth law could not help but cower. However, it did not go out obediently. In front of Lung Ruoxue, it even displayed a trace of calmness. But in fact, it was thinking of a way to escape. Seeing that the laws of heaven and earth didn't respond for a long time, the demon was enraged. He threatened, Little Tian, if you don't come out now, I'm going to use violence. Your sister. You violent man. What else can you do other than using violence? After hearing the demon's threat, the regulations of heaven and earth could not help but curse in their hearts. However, in order not to let Lung Ruoxue see anything, it remained calm and composed. However, at this moment, a loud bang was heard by Lung Ruoxue and the others. Instantly, the lightning ball formed by the laws of the heaven and earth dimmed. Fuck. He's really going to use violence so soon? The heaven-earth law didn't even need to think to know that it was that damn devilish man who attacked from the outside. How detestable. Was he so impatient just to see his woman? Can't you even wait for such a short time? The regulations of the heaven and earth were furious. As a rule of heaven and earth, it had never experienced the feelings between a man and a woman. Naturally, it could not understand the demon's urgency and sneered at him. It truly felt that this evildoer was a disgrace to chaos life forms. How could he do this for a woman? This kind of behavior was really not worth advocating. Chapter 2877. The Light Bulb Duo Too Forbidden. It must definitely be banned. The heaven-earth law was roaring in his heart. The demon's attacks from the outside seemed fierce, but in reality, he was not ruthless. After all, Schwerer might be inside, and he did not want to hurt her. As for the life and death of the heaven-earth law, he could not be bothered. However, the demon's attack, which was as loud as thunder and as light as raindrops, sounded like thunder to Lung Ruoxue and the others. There's also thunder in the chaos world? The curious Uncle Long finally couldn't help but ask. After asking, his gaze turned to Tsang. However, Azure acted as if he didn't see anything, only lowering his head and playing with his furry little paws. What did it have to do with thunder? Seeing that Senior Azure was ignoring him, Uncle Long felt a little sad. He turned to look at the laws of the world, hoping that Senior Azure would answer his question. Who knew that the laws of heaven and earth would ignore him as well? They continued to jump up and down, as if they were brewing something. Lung Ruoxue could also tell that the laws of heaven and earth seemed to have other thoughts. She immediately set her eyes on the other party. Feeling Lung Ruoxue's intense stare, the regulations of the heaven and earth roared in anger. Little girl, what are you looking at me for? What, you're afraid to look? Lung Ruoxue teased with a smile. No, I'm not afraid. The regulations of the heaven and earth said gloomily, but they couldn't help but wail in their hearts. Stop. Don't look at it. Do not look at it. It was going to run. How was it supposed to run if he kept staring at it like that? Then I'll try my best to look. Lung Ruoxue replied immediately after she finished explaining the laws of heaven and earth. The laws of heaven and earth were silent. Your sister. He still had to look hard. Are you going to take responsibility if you break it? It was obvious that Lung Ruoxue had no intention of taking responsibility, even if she had a bad eye for the laws of heaven and earth. At the same time, the thunder in their ears became louder and louder. Then, the demon's warning was once again transmitted into the hearts of the laws of heaven and earth. Xiao Tian, quickly remove the shield. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. The demon was furious. This time he was really going to make a move. Who asked little Tian to be so stubborn? In the face of internal and external troubles, the rules of heaven and earth quickly weighed the pros and cons in its heart. In the end, it decided that it should run away as soon as possible. The meeting of this violent man and woman seemed to be unstoppable. With this thought in mind, the regulations of the heaven and earth first sized up the surroundings, then quietly moved back. Following that, it roared loudly, "Evil man, you bastard!" Its feint had successfully attracted the attention of Lung Ruoxue and the others. When they regained their senses and looked at the laws of heaven and earth, they could no longer see the shadow of the laws of heaven and earth. At this moment, Evildoer also realized that the shield in front of him seemed to have weakened a lot. Therefore, he effortlessly used the same amount of force to break the shield. Shwe! Looking at Lung Ruoxue, who was so close to him, the demon could not believe his eyes. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others were still searching for the whereabouts of the laws of heaven and earth. When they heard a familiar voice, everyone raised their heads. Freak! Mistress of the dark world! Everyone said in unison. Following that, Lung Ruoxue pounced into the demon's arms like a young bird in the forest. The demon also hugged Lung Ruoxue tightly, not letting go. Thanks Uncle Long and the others held their breaths, not even daring to breathe. Only Tsang was coldly snorting. Because Nyo threw it into Uncle Long's arms after seeing this devilish man. It was quite angry, extremely angry. Uncle Long, who was holding Tsang, could clearly feel the bitter aura that Tsang was constantly emitting. Instantly, he felt like he was holding a hot potato. Originally, he wanted to persuade Tsang that it wasn't easy for Shwe and the Dark Lord to meet, so he shouldn't throw a tantrum. But seeing Tsang like this, he didn't dare to persuade him anymore. If he opened his mouth, he would probably become Senior Tsang's punching bag. Woo, so scary. Uncle Long really wanted to leave Tsang Bubao behind, but he didn't dare to. So he could only silently bear the cold air on Tsang's body, and use his eyes to glare at those disloyal guys. How detestable. After Dongfangyu and the others felt Senior Tsang's anger, they all hid far away. Only he could not escape while holding Tsang. This is too unfair. Uncle Long was a little indignant. In the next second, he walked toward Dongfangyu and the others with Tsang in his arms. Dongfangyu and the others were so scared that they quickly dodged and kept warning Uncle Long with their eyes, "Don't come over. Don't come any closer." However, Uncle Long didn't care about that. He carried Songjuan and ran to a place with many people. Dongfangyu and the others were so angry that their faces turned black. When they were done, the crowd realized that Shwe and the demon had disappeared. Are we being abandoned? Uncle Long, who was carrying Tsang, said with a worried expression. It's obvious. Dongfangyu said unhappily. If this guy hadn't been chasing them with Azure in his arms, they wouldn't have lost sight of Shwe. But now they were abandoned in the wilderness, with no village in front and no shop behind. Wah! Dongfangyu really wanted to cry. It's so dangerous here. How can you leave them here? It was obvious that Tsang, the only one who could protect them, was not in a good state. Apart from continuously releasing cold air, Tsang was not willing to do anything else. What should he do? Influenced by Dongfangyu, everyone was heartbroken. You all come with me. Just as everyone was heartbroken, a voice that seemed to come from the heavens suddenly entered their ears. It wasn't that the voice was beautiful. It was just that when they were at their most helpless, they heard someone say, "Come with me." That feeling was absolutely incomparable. However, when they looked up and saw that it was an unknown man who had spoken, they were immediately suspicious. Was the other party talking to them? A bad uncle who abducted his little friends? There were too many bad people nowadays, so even a god shouldn't easily believe the words of a stranger. And don't leave with strangers. Who knows who you are? The distrust on everyone's faces made the man quite worried. Everyone, he's not a bad person. Why did she doubt him so much? However, suspicion was suspicion, especially in the land of chaos where there were very few living things. One had to know that Senior Tsang had said that those who could live here were not human. At this moment, they didn't feel that Senior Tsang's words were offensive at all. And without knowing the man's identity, they could forget about leaving with him. I'm not a bad person. Seeing that Uncle Long and the others didn't say anything, but their thoughts were clearly written on their faces, the man could only helplessly say. Unfortunately, his words sounded like he was trying to hide something. Uncle Long and the others didn't believe him. Are you even human? Uncle Long asked directly. This question is so difficult to answer. The man pondered. How should he answer to win the favor of Uncle Long and the others and trick them away? No, he wanted them to leave this place with him. Seeing that he didn't answer, Uncle Long and the others immediately understood. Chapter 2878. The Lightbulb Duo 3. The other party was not human. The appraisal was complete. This time, it was even more impossible for Uncle Long and the others to go with him. If he was someone from the laws of the world, then wouldn't they become a tool for that fellow to threaten Shui and the demon? The man in deep thought naturally didn't know that Uncle Long and the others had already made up their minds not to go with him. He was even thinking about how to convince these people in front of him. After thinking about it with great difficulty, Uncle Long said before the man could speak, "You're a liar. We won't go with you. So you can give up on that idea." The man was depressed. He hadn't even said anything yet, okay? How did the mission fail? The unwilling man tried to persuade Uncle Long and the others, but they wouldn't give him a chance. In the end, he was annoyed by the man, so everyone worked together and sent the man back to his hometown. Of course, they didn't know where the man's home was, but there was no doubt that the guy had been kicked away by them. After that, everyone's ears were finally quiet. However, the sorrow that came with it made them feel depressed. "Come with me." Suddenly, Uncle Long and the others heard this and were immediately enraged. "Your sister. Are you done?" He raised his head and saw that it was another unfamiliar man who had spoken. This time, Uncle Long and the others didn't waste any time and were ready to attack. The man's face immediately turned pale, and he said in a trembling voice, What are you doing? I'm here on the orders of my master to pick you up. How can you treat me like this?" The man who had spoken was unusually indignant. He had thought that this would be a good job to please the future Netherworld Empress, but who knew that he would be beaten up the moment he said a single word. Ooh, this was too much of a bully. Which master? Upon hearing this, Uncle Long and the others stopped what they were doing and asked cautiously, "It's the mistress of the dark world that you guys are talking about." "The mistress of the dark world asked me to come and pick you up." The man who was afraid of being beaten up quickly said, "You mean you're someone sent by the mistress of the dark world?" Uncle Long said warily, Of course." The man nodded. "What evidence do you have?" Uncle Long continued to ask, Do we still need evidence for this?" The man was dumbfounded. "Of course I do. Otherwise, who would know who you are?" Uncle Long said with a look of disdain, This is my token." The man had no choice but to take out a black token and show it to Uncle Long and the others to confirm his identity. However, after Uncle Long and the others looked around, they regretfully told the man that this could not prove his identity because they did not recognize the card he took out. With that, the man was completely enraged. He finally knew that running errands was not an easy job. The key was that these people in front of him didn't believe his identity. "I'm really sent by the mistress of the dark world to pick you up." The man was still struggling, but Uncle Long and the others obviously wouldn't believe his one-sided words. He had to be on high alert in the land of chaos. Otherwise, there was a risk of being taken away by bad people at any time. Especially since Azure didn't care, they could only save themselves for safety. "Wait for me, I'll go back and get the evidence." In the end, the rather helpless man could only turn around and leave. Not long after, the man returned. This time, Old Venomous Snake was with him. Seeing Old Viper, Uncle Long and the others burst into tears. Sob. Schwer had not forgotten about them. "Master asked me to come and pick you up," Old Venomous Snake said with a smile. "Then what are we waiting for?" Uncle Long quickly said. Then, without waiting for the man to say anything else, Uncle Long and the others obediently followed them and left. This fact caused the man's grief and indignation to increase. Sob. Why didn't she believe his words and cause him to lose face in front of his friends? The more the man thought about it, the sadder he became. His resentful eyes would occasionally linger on Uncle Long and the others. However, Uncle Long and the others ignored him and asked casually, "Apart from you, did the mistress of the dark world send anyone else to pick us up?" "No, I'm the only one." The man couldn't help but feel flattered to hear the other party speak to him. Fuck. That guy was a liar. Uncle Long and the others cursed in their hearts when they heard this answer. When the man led them to the demon's palace, they looked at the tall buildings that didn't fit in with the desolate land of chaos. Uncle Long and the others were tempted. Should they also build a base here? Of course, he had to get Shui Er's approval first. Thanks, however, when they entered the palace, they did not immediately see Shui Er. They could understand this. The young couple had not seen each other for a long time, and were currently in the midst of their lovey-dovey moment. Of course, they would not invite their own rejections and disturb them. However, Azure didn't care at all. He shouted from within the palace, "Damn demon, quickly return my Nyo. Nyo hasn't married you yet. Don't you dare take advantage of her." Everyone who heard this fell silent. However, Uncle Long and the others were calm, while the evildoer's subordinates were panicking. The other party was causing trouble on their territory. Should they take down the cat? But how could he take it down? The subordinates of the Nine Nether prison had a headache. This cat didn't look like someone to be trifled with, and it didn't fear the majesty of its master at all. How were they supposed to attack? Uncle Long saw the cat struggle, so he pulled someone who looked like the leader aside and talked to him for a while. Suddenly, the leader showed a constipated expression and gave up on the idea of taking down the cat. "Boo. My lord, it's not that we've failed our duty, but we can't beat this cat." From Uncle Long, the leader learned that this cat was also born in the land of chaos. As such, it must be an important figure that an old man could not afford to offend. Therefore, after weighing his duty and the strength of both sides, he decided to give up and let the cat go. More importantly, Uncle Long had told him that even if he didn't capture the cat, his master wouldn't blame him. In Uncle Long's words, the cat and her master were natural enemies. But aren't cats' greatest enemies supposed to be that? When did it become his master? The leader couldn't figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. Just as Uncle Dragon had said, her lord didn't move at all after Tsong's roar. To put it bluntly, her lord had ignored the cat's provocation and didn't have time to deal with it. Azure was even more furious at this result. Tsong flew into a rage and wanted to destroy all the buildings here to vent his anger. Lung Ruoxue, who was watching this scene through the light screen from the bangle, could not help but ask worriedly, "Azure is angry. Are we really not going out?" "I'm not going out. If it wants to make a scene, it can. At most, it'll just build a new palace." The demon said disapprovingly, "That's right, sister. We must not let that stupid cat's bad habits die down." Qingju, who had suddenly appeared, also interrupted and echoed. At times he was very willing to join forces with the evildoer to bully that cat. Alright. Even though Lung Ruoxue couldn't bear it, it seemed like she had to obey the majority at this moment. More importantly, she and the evildoer had not seen each other for such a long time, and they did have a lot to talk about. After that, the two of them entered the purple bamboo house. The light bulb Qingju wanted to follow them in, but was refused entry. Qingju was furious and glared at the door of the purple bamboo house. With a thought, he moved the dead cat he was talking about in. At the same time, Song would also be a good helper to him. One had to admit that Qingju was a fence-sitter. Azure was still happily wandering around outside when it suddenly felt a familiar suction force. It immediately retracted its aura and was pulled into the bracelet by Green Vessel. After taking a glance at Song's strength, Green Vessel was very satisfied with its tactfulness and quick reaction. "Do you know why I moved you here?" Then Qingju asked with a smirk. "I don't know." Song pretended to be stupid, but in his heart he was thinking, "This guy wouldn't be so kind to let me be a guest in this broken bracelet." Emph. Those who were unaccountably solicitous were either evil or thieves. Song became alert and decided that he would not let Green Vessel lead him by the nose. Unfortunately, Green Vessel understood Song's thoughts and said directly, "My sister and the demon are in the purple bamboo house. I've been refused entry, so I think we can join forces to break in. What do you think? Aren't you the artifact spirit of this place? Is there a place you can't go to?" Hearing Green Vessel's words, Azure couldn't help but mock. "Your sister? It's not like you don't know that I haven't recovered my strength." Qingju said angrily. This guy is really too detestable." He knew that he couldn't be nice to it, or else this guy would definitely climb all over him. "That's true. You're no match for that guy now. But you're too biased. That evil man is also at his peak. You dare to let him in, but don't allow me to come in often. Aren't you afraid that he will destroy your place? You must know that his destructive power is definitely not inferior to mine. Song nodded and complained. With Big Sister here, what am I afraid of? Green Vessel said matter-of-factly. The main point was that the demon had always been coming in and out of the bracelet, so the bracelet did not reject him. Therefore, even though he had recovered to his peak, the bracelet still believed that he had achieved it through his own cultivation. However, Song was different. This was also the reason why Green Vessel did not stop the demon from entering his territory. Of course, he couldn't let Azure know about this, or else he would say that he was racist. When Song heard Qingju's words, he snorted coldly and said, "How do you want me to cooperate with you? With you as the main force, we'll kill our way in to protect Big Sister's innocence. Hee. If the demon wants to confess his feelings to his sister, he has to go through us first, right? You must know that we're her family." Qingju laughed smugly. Humph. He was definitely going to be the third wheel. Even if the sky collapsed, they could not stop him. Chapter 2879. Devil be honest 1. I'll be the main force? Stupid bracelet, you're not trying to use me, are you? I'm telling you, I'm not that easy to fool. Hearing Qingju's words, Song was on guard. Use you, my ass. This is called cooperation. Do you understand cooperation? You uncultured damn cat. Qingju angrily replied. Since we're working together, why can't you be the main force? Don't forget, this is your territory. Azure had a suspicious look on his face. He wasn't stupid and wouldn't let others use him for no reason. I want to be the main force, but can I beat that evildoer? Qingju said angrily. Even though this was his territory, he really did not have the confidence to deal with the evil man here. Otherwise, he would not have brought this damn cat in to annoy him. That's true. Little Ruo, come and call me big brother. Seeing that Green Vessel had finally admitted that he was weak, Azure was happy. If he didn't bully this guy now, he wouldn't have the chance to do so when he recovered his strength. This was why Song didn't want to let go of such a good opportunity. Your sister, my name is Qingju, not Little Ruo. Green Vessel roared in anger when he saw that Chaos had given him a name. I know. Little Ruo is a nickname I gave you because you're weak. Ha ha ha. After Song finished speaking, he laughed out loud, causing Qingju's small body to tremble in anger. The fire in his heart was also bursting out. Endure. He had to endure. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Sooner or later, he would take care of this fellow. Qingju secretly swore and set a big goal for himself, which was to teach this damn cat a good lesson one day. Then he took a few deep breaths. Silly cat, do you still want to work with me? You bastard. Time was tight, and the mission was heavy, but this damn cat still had the time to mess with him. This was really infuriating. Of course, we'll cooperate. Song smiled. Since he had come in, he naturally couldn't return empty-handed, so he had to destroy it. He must be dreaming if he thought that he could be intimate with Neo so easily. After making up their minds, Song and Green Vessel smiled as if they understood each other. The man and beast carefully headed toward the purple bamboo house. He quietly moved to the door of the purple bamboo house and gave Song a look. Song understood and then showed his little claws, grabbing towards the door with a swoosh. 5 long claw marks were left on the door, but it was still intact. Seeing this scene, Green Vessel was filled with grief and indignation. He could not bear it anymore and roared. You idiot, who told you to scratch? Now that you've scratched the door like this, the door still doesn't open. Qingju was filled with hatred. This door was made by the old master back then, and it definitely had commemorative significance. Now there were 5 claw marks on it. Just thinking about it made him so angry. However, facing Green Vessel's rage, Song didn't take it to heart. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. It's just a door. What's the big deal? After saying this, Azure struck out with its claws. The door glowed with a blinding light. As its claws rose and fell, the originally intact door was finally destroyed. Look, it's done, Song Ji said proudly. As for Qingju, He looked at the door that was covered in claw marks on the ground and his heart bled. At this moment he was very sure that this silly cat was doing this on purpose. Did she really think that she was a cat after transforming into a cat for a long time? That silly cat didn't need to scratch at all, and she wouldn't break the door and just knock it open. But now, Qingju wanted to cry but had no tears. He had definitely invited a cat into the house. In an instant he was filled with regret. The sound of the door falling to the ground had also alerted Lung Ruoxue and the demon inside the purple bamboo house. When the two of them came out and saw the dead door, they looked at each other. Lung Ruoxue was helpless, but the demon was a little angry. How detestable. Can't these two guys be a little more obedient? Did she have to cause trouble for him? Thanks, who did this? The demon asked despite knowing the answer. It wasn't me, Azure replied with a smile. It wasn't me either. Seeing that Song did not admit it, Green Vessel would not admit it either. Your sister. He had already miscalculated and naturally didn't intend to be Song's scapegoat. You don't want to admit? Don't worry, just stretch out your hands and claws and compare them. The demon was so angry that he laughed, but he still said with a straight face. On what basis? Azure asked indifferently. Just because you're all suspects. The demon said matter-of-factly. You're also a suspect. Azure replied with a smile. What suspicion do I have? The demon asked curiously. You came out from inside, so it's possible that you opened the door, so you're suspicious. Azure analyzed with a serious face. In any case, it was determined to die. Schwer, did you see that? This is what it means to be a thief crying thief. After hearing Song's words, the evildoer turned to Lung Ruoxue and said calmly, You bastard. You're the thief. Your whole family is a thief. Before Lung Ruoxue could react, Song roared in anger. My family includes you. The demon smiled faintly. Who said that? When did I become your family? Azure was stunned and asked in confusion. Schwerer is my woman, and you're her beastie. Tell me, are you considered my family? The demon asked with a smile. No, Nyo hasn't married you yet. Don't try to get close to me. Azure said unhappily. This guy was really too shameless, wanting to make connections just like this? That's only a matter of time. The demon was full of confidence. His grandfather and the others had long acknowledged his status, so now he was only lacking a title. Who said that? She raised her eyebrows, obviously trying to find fault. What, you still want to object? The demon asked calmly. And I want to object. Nyo cannot marry you. Azure said with a serious expression. It doesn't matter, he'll just marry her. The demon countered every move, not taking Song's words seriously at all. That guy was nothing to be afraid of. You can't marry Nyo either. Song roared. This damn evil man was so shameless. Didn't you see that her family didn't agree? Then who can I marry? Blinking his eyes, the demon shamelessly asked. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but hold back her laughter. She truly felt that how could a demon be so cute? Ha ha ha. The evildoer who said this was really cute. Lung Ruoxue's eyes were brimming with tears as she looked at the evildoer. Sensing her gaze, the evildoer turned back to look at Schwer. In an instant, the entire space was filled with gentleness and sweetness, and no one could interfere between the two of them. Song, who also saw this scene, was furious. You bastard. These two scoundrels actually flirted with each other in front of him. They were really too detestable. Song was going crazy. He was even more displeased with the demon. In short, with it around, it would be a dream for the evildoer to successfully be together with Nyo. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.